Oh, timeout.
Shit. I don't think there's timeout on live. Is the video up? Is it on?
Mm-mm. Hang on. It's from here.
Oh, okay. You sure? What did you get rid of that? I'll share. Okay. Yeah, I'll share.
Okay, there we go. It should be.
Yeah, there we go.
Check.
Check. Oh, we're good. We real good.
I think we're live, actually. Yeah, we are live.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the Split Line Off-Road Podcast.
Are you ready to go GNCC racing? Fans running to the fences, side by side. Boards gets a better line. Oh boy, we got wheel to wheel right here, string. Oh, and Stu Baylor right behind him. Russell gonna try to dive bomb down to the inside. No, can't get the line he wants. Duvall is in control. We open back up. Here comes Neil once again. He's looking for the pass. Oh, bumping going on.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Split Line Off-Road Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rodney Cooper. With me today, as always,
Brandon White here, guys. What is going on?
we're back at it, ready to get going.
Heck yeah, man.
I'm excited. Today's going to be an awesome show. We have former UFC star Josh Koscheck coming on the show.
And just to let you know, he does more than UFC now. That's why he's on the show. Full gas sprint enduro.
I was getting ready to get to that. He's a full gas sprint enduro owner
And we're like, why is anybody like a UFC fighter?
and promoter. Yeah, no, he does.
I mean, it'd be cool anyways.
Yeah,
But.
it's going to be a cool interview. We got him coming on the show. We have Coach Robb Beams coming on the show. Robb is a friend of the show, and it's going to be a good one.
It is. It's
It's
going to be
a
great.
good one. We got a lot of questions that we have from you guys to ask to him, so it's going to be awesome. Before we get started, though, we have to thank our awesome sponsors. As always, thank you to Guts Racing. Since 1985, they've been creating the best seat covers and seat foam technology in the business. Don't ask me. Ask people like Joel Hetrick. Ask people like Thad Duvall, Craig DeLong. Those guys trust Guts. You guys should too. Best seat covers in the business. Brandon, style or performance?
Style.
They're pretty sweet looking. But Brandon, I got to go with performance because those gripper seats hold you to the seat when you need to be held to the seat real nice and tight on those really muddy rides.
In those sketchy moments.
Yeah. And they can custom seat foams for you. It's pretty sweet stuff. We're going to be giving one away here pretty soon. Don't know exactly when, but it's coming. It's coming. So keep an eye on that, guys. We got to thank Seal Savers. They have been in the business for 21 years. They are a West Coast company coming to the East Coast via Split Line Off-Road.
Yeah.
And guys, if you want to save your fork seals, if you want to save your coils, if you want to save the parts that mean the most to you, that create your ride a little more comfortable, then trust nobody else besides Seal Savers. Those guys make the best seal protection in the business, fork protection in the business for your dirt bike, for your ATV, for your side-by-side, for your mountain bike, for your palms, for your foot pegs.
Yep.
They make it all. And you can get a 25% discount by using the discount code SPLITLINE, capital S. Use a discount code to get 25% off of their already affordable products. Next, we got to thank Sunstar Chain and Sprockets. Brandon, what are they made of?
Case hardened steel, baby.
That's right. They are made of the best material. They will last you. They will perform great.
Mm-hmm.
Brendan might be joining their team soon. We're working deals over here.
We're trying.
And you can save 30% off by using the split line code SPLITLINE30. Save 30% off of anything that you might need from Sunstar Chain and Sprockets. Best in the business.
Yep.
Style, performance, all over.
All of it.
Yep. We got to also thank XC Gear. They make the Mako 360, the Hammerhead 360, and those are the top of the line bar clamps for the Hammerhead for your mountain bike, the Mako for your dirt bike and ATV. We have already put one Mako on an ATV, and the dude was pumped about it.
Did you see the customized one he did for Grant Baylor?
No, I didn't see that. That's sick.
Yeah, it said little bro badass on it.
Nice.
And literally it was like engraved in the clamp.
Grant did make it on the pro podium this weekend, right?
He did.
I think so.
With an XC Gear clamp. So
with XC Gear clamp, choice of champions.
Yep.
So yeah, you guys need to be keeping in touch with our fantasy because we're going to be giving one of those away this month as well.
Right.
So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. If you win a Mako on the Split Line Off-Road Show, I mean,
yeah, that's pretty
sweet.
That's a high dollar
pretty
item.
Sweet. And once you put all that stuff on your bike, go race Mountain State Hare Scrambles. Best local series in West Virginia, hands down. Richie Nolan operates a awesome series. If you want tight technical woods that's going to make you a better rider, go to Mountain State Hare Scrambles. They're going to be racing at the end of the month,
29th and
30th. Or I'm sorry, 30th and 1st.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
I think it's the 30th and 1st.
I know it's the weekend of the ATV High Point.
Yeah, it's a weekend of ATV High Point, so I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to be going.
I think I'm going to be at the ATV High Point.
I might be at the ATV High Point National as well. Are you racing that?
I think so.
Uh-oh.
Me and the wife's been having conversations, and she's like, "Are you sure you really want to do that?" And because she knows, like, once you get on the quad, it's
once you get on the quad, it's
balls to the wall.
Once you go quad, you can't go back.
Oh, I can go back.
Quad's best though. You know. But I tell you what though, I'm excited to go up there. Hopefully it's not a mutter and we get to see Joel Hetrick and the boys hit that quad.
Oh yeah. They hit it last year. It was awesome.
Yeah. It'd be sick.
Rastrelli's been riding good.
Rastrelli has been riding good.
Up on the podium.
Man, I tell you what, let's talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah.
Mud moto.
Yep.
Mud moto for sure.
So I didn't get to watch all the first moto and everything, and I saw the results, and I'm like, Chad Wienen, like what's going on with Chad? Like, I don't understand what's happening. And then it's like, oh, second moto, back on top.
Yeah, I tell you what though, but I mean, Joel's been up there. He's won every moto.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's pulling every single moto.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. I'm like, are we starting to see the fall off of Wienen? Is something happening? Is it older, or is he just not taking this as serious?
A lot of guys are coming up in that sport, and it would take very little of a step off to get behind.
Yeah.
And that, maybe that's happening. Maybe it's just a little bit of a slump. Maybe they're just testing new parts at the beginning of the season. You know how that kind of stuff goes sometimes.
Well, he's got a family too, man.
And when you get in that conditions like there was at Aona Pass this weekend with mud motos, it's tough. It's tough. So
did you see where they had to cancel the amateur racing on Saturday because it was too bad?
All of it?
Yeah. Well, whatever that was remaining, they had made a posted. Rest of the amateur motos for Saturday were canceled. So
did you see our buddy Brett Music ended up winning both of his classes?
The 25 plus and then pro sport class.
Yeah.
He's fast, man.
Man, he's fast. He's fast. Shout out to him. He actually helped me pick out my new mower this weekend.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I got the.
You didn't ask him to come on the show? What are you doing?
Well, we'll get him on the show soon.
Oh, okay.
We'll get him on the show soon. We got me in the Skag Turf Tiger. God, that thing's sweet. Sweet. It's a sweet mowing machine, that's for sure. Hey, Doug Kirk said we had a little sneak peek of behind the scenes of Split Line. Absolutely right. We may have hit record right before we were ready to record, and once we were in the studio, we just decided just to roll with it.
We really need a producer.
We really need a producer. If there is anybody
that's interested in
that is in the Bridgeport, Clarksburg, West Virginia area
that works for
fun and a t-shirt. You can get a t-shirt that looks just like Brandon and I's.
I almost went home, guys, and changed my shirt.
We're wearing the exact same shirt, but it's okay. It's okay. Our wives already married us. We're not trying to be cool for anybody.
Right.
But these shirts are cool. Maybe just not side by side. Unless we're pit crewing together.
Right. Yeah.
And that way our rider can see us coming. That type of stuff.
Whatever you want.
But That being said, if there's anybody that would be good at being a producer, aka all you would have to be doing is basically what I'm doing right now, just checking the live feed, making sure it's going good, watching the comments, and letting us focus on talking. And you'd probably jump in the show every once in a while too. We'd set you up, nice little booth back here, and you'd be good to go. Like I said, Brandon said the pay, is
we might give you a free water. Deer
Park.
Yeah, a little
Deer
bit
Park, top of the line. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, hey, let's get a little bit Supercross talk in.
Yeah.
What do you think of the tracks on the speedways?
Oh, I love them.
I love them too.
I love them. I've never been to one. I was joking with my wife. I was like, "Hey, why don't we just fly? Like, let's just go to Atlanta real quick. We have nothing else going on. It was kind of a rainy weekend up here, but we had the baseball. I forgot about the baseball, but
we almost didn't get done with our game before the moto started.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. I love them. The longer track time and the longer laps, and they could do cool stuff like that 100-foot or 120-foot double or triple, whatever you want to call it.
They ended up taking out.
Yeah.
That was
that was
that
awesome.
was big. I
would have liked to have been there for that, just to watch them hit that on press day. But made racing fun, like more interesting. 250 class was the start there, I guess. Dude, what about Faulkner in the heats when he came back?
I was really excited for him. I've never claimed to be a Faulkner fan.
Mm-hmm.
I always
didn't like his attitude.
I've always never liked his attitude, but for some reason this year I was really rooting for him, and I just really like to see people working hard and being able to get back into the sport. And I really hated what happened with him and Jet. I was bummed for him. It wasn't Jet's fault, but definitely wasn't Faulkner's fault when he went down. And to see him come back, I heard people were saying that he's going to come back and he's going to go all out, but I really wasn't buying it, because I thought that, he was on this track for, I just want to be consistent. And I thought that's what he was going to do, but man, in that he brought it. he brought it.
When he sent it off that tunnel jump, I was like, oh my goodness.
And yes, it was just a heat, but it was the entire East Coast.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, half of the East Coast like a normal heat is.
Right. Yeah. It was a whole heat. And then I think he kind of needed to prove something to himself. I don't think that was a statement to anyone else but himself.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I can still do this. I can get back. I can pass these guys. I can put in the work. Give me a couple more races and I can be up at the front in the main events. And I think that was something for himself, just to like prove to himself that, hey, I can still do this. Because after being injury after injury after injury, as we talked to a lot of these GNCC guys they've had a lot of injuries, you get in a dark place. Yeah. You get down, you get depressed, and it's like, why am I doing this? Yeah. Why do I keep doing this? Why am I even doing this anymore? So you go out, and I think that was just a statement ride for himself. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, like you said, these riders get into, I can only imagine working so hard to not be able to perform like you wanted to. And that's gotta be gut wrenching. I mean, next thing you know, you're sitting on a foot peg. Yeah. Dean. Poor Dean. It's pretty bad. It was bad. It's pretty bad. It was really bad. I've been keeping up with him. I listened to him on Pulp MX, and I just gut wrenched for the guy. I mean, he literally has a battle wound. Right. I mean, that's not something you typically see. We're used to broken bones. We're used to dislocated. Well, I mean, most of the time if you hear he's got some stitches or whatever, he'll be back. But it doesn't sound like he's coming back. Maybe miss outdoors a little bit. I would say so. Say so. It was a pretty rough injury, and I'm glad that he's all right. And speaking of that injury, why didn't we see a red flag? Well, I would say that he was off the track enough to where they wasn't worried about red flagging it. But if you, I know you listen to Pulp and all that, and listen to his thing. Listening to it, they should have, because all the blood that he was losing and the freaking out. But I would say it's because he was off the track, and I know they were stuck in between. But they had where he wrecked, they were saved by the finish line jump right there. So they just had the whoop section. I mean, were they though? Because that's where he wrecked until another bike comes flying through the air like that. I would say that they had a flagger like pushing them to the right side of the whoops. I agree, but I just think when we don't typically see
blood loss type situations in a wreck. Like I said, we're used to the broken bones. We're
and all
used to
that.
the dislocated, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But the blood, that's a different story, and that's like a time crucial
That
situation.
could be, that could have been pretty bad.
So
I guess.
I feel like they may have dropped the ball a little bit
They
on
might
that
have,
one.
but,
I mean, thankfully that Dean will be able to recover and make a full recovery. I enjoy his. If you don't follow him on Instagram, I enjoy his Instagram stories. He's keeping us really up to date on what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you think? What do you think about Tomac in the heat race?
His swap.
Oh man,
he about went down.
He was going for it. Like,
he was going.
You
for
thought, like at once he passed Anderson, and then Anderson passed him back. And then he made a mistake. Like, oh, he's not going to get back. And then 2 laps later, he's going back for it again and messing up. And do you think he just, after a while, he just settled even in the main event?
I think so. I think so. I think that yet again, Chase Sexton threw away another opportunity for a win. I think Chase should have like 3 or 4 wins this year.
Oh yeah.
Well, he has 1, right?
One win.
He should have.
He should at least definitely have 2. That last lap in was it Minneapolis?
Yeah. Second to last lap, and he had like a 10-second lead.
Yeah. She definitely should have won that one.
Mm-hmm.
So
did you see Kenny? Did you see Kenny Rodden?
Yeah, Kenny's back on the bike.
Yep. Did you know that Kenny was supposed to go on Race Day Live this week?
No, I didn't know that.
Yep, he was supposed to go on Race Day Live, and ended up belling on them the last second. So,
these guys, real quick. So there was all this big hype, Craig or Jet, and here Hunter is the fastest guy.
Hunter's the fastest guy. I tell you,
250 class. Who
had the more impressive ride though? Between Craig and Jet,
I don't know, man. They both had some good rides.
I'm going with Jet.
See,
to come through the pack like that.
Well, look back at Craig. He had a bad start. I mean, he was in 10th at one point that I saw, and he was working his way up on a tricky track. He did have 1 tip over, but I mean, Jet had a mess up. So I mean, to me, that big of a mess up, I think Craig rode better. But I mean, he had a good ride. Jet had a good ride, but you can't make those big mistakes.
No, you can't. You can't. Hey, we can't forget about fantasy though.
Oh, I want to forget about fantasy because I was just plugging them in.
We both ended up doing the same thing and just having to throw teams together.
I think I chose a guy that was in the 450 class that was running 250 or 250 in the 450.
I was trying to be careful about that because I tried not to do that. So I just picked the safest team possible. I ended up scoring 145 points and finishing 17th overall. You finished 19th.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. I mean, if you had to take a guess, who do you think won this weekend?
Oh, if I had a guess, probably Mason.
Yep, Mason won. Yeah, of course. Jeez, Mason. Yeah.
He's disqualified.
Mason, congratulations! You won the Seal Savers. The Seal Savers of the week. Jalen finished 2nd.
It's my niece.
Is it?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. 222 points.
Dang.
Dark Side finished 3rd. Pony Pod.
Yep.
Finished 3rd.
Jamie.
Let's Go Brandon 4th, and Justin Groff finished 5th. So for the season point standings, Mason is just killing everybody and everybody right now. Hang on. Gotta get that off there. There we go. GNCC 62243 is in 2nd. Mr. Poopy Butt is in 3rd. Marty Seal Savers is in 4th, and Let's Go Brandon is in 5th. It's been fun this year.
Yeah. You want me to do Rocky Mountain?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Let's do Rocky Mountain.
I was like, I bet he wants me to do Rocky Mountain. All right, guys, ever in Rocky Mountain.
Did you play Rocky Mountain this week?
Yeah. I got them both in.
Nice.
I got them both in. I literally walked in the house. It was 2:59. I sat down. I had my foot-long sub. And I was watching Supercross. Hey, guys, we got a new points leader over in Rocky Mountain. B. Moretto passed up Jeremy DeWitt in our group. And then Jeremy's in 2nd, Guthrie's in 3rd, McIvory's in 4th, and Ronnie B's in 5th. And Not Good 898 is in 6th. Do you know who that is? That is Mr. Doug Kurt. He's making a comeback.
Is he?
Yeah.
Nice.
We were having a conversation about that. He was making a big comeback.
Yeah.
So
good job, Doug.
Yeah, he was like way down there and he's working his way up.
Yeah.
His goal is to be top 3.
Nice.
Top 3. So we'll see.
Well,
we'll try to stop him.
I'm not. I'm way out of
You're
there.
terrible.
Yeah, I didn't even play it this week,
Mhm.
to be honest with you.
No,
Yeah,
the real game starts back up in 3 weeks, right?
Yep,
Yep. April 9th.
absolutely.
That's the real game.
Absolutely. That's when the Split Line Fantasy, if you guys have not played, make sure you play. We'll be giving away a awesome prize. What was the last prize we gave away?
Sunstar.
Sunstar. So that means this week will
Guts.
be Guts Racing. There'll be a Guts Racing seat cover
In 3
coming
weeks.
somebody's way.
3 weeks.
Yep, in 3 weeks. That's right. So let's talk a little full gas sprint enduro.
Yeah.
Brandon, we're going to be having Josh Koscheck on, the owner, operator, promoter
Mhm.
of the full gas sprint enduro series. As a series, I mean, what do you think of it?
Oh, dude, it's awesome. Like I said, I want to get into it when he gets on, but we all know that they took a hiatus for a year,
Mhm.
and Josh ended up purchasing it off of the original owner. And when you think of Josh Koscheck, you don't think racing, you think fighter, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I've always thought of.
So
It's cool to see somebody that I grew up watching on TV fighting. I was really into UFC back in his kind of prime.
Yeah.
So it's really cool seeing somebody from that world come over to
Come over here.
our world and be successful and try to really bring something back to the sport that we almost lost as a full gas sprint enduro series.
Yeah. So I mean, he took it and everything. I've been to every event this year. It's all been running pretty much flawlessly. My boy rides the 50cc class in the morning with the amateurs, and we ride on Saturday. And
He runs a pretty tight ship, doesn't he?
he does. He runs pretty good. And
You were telling me that like there's military guys that he has like helping out and running it.
Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I know that he's pretty adamant about keeping to that time schedule that they have going on.
Yeah, they do a really good job over there, and I think they're in a real bit. They're also obviously in a rebuilding phase.
Mhm.
So I mean, they're growing. They're getting bigger each and every round. And if you guys haven't tried one, the next one's in Beckley, West Virginia, Memorial Day weekend, and sounds like it's going to be a fun one.
That's sweet.
It's on the golf course. So if you guys ever wanted to ride a golf course in your life, and we all have been like, dude, I like to hit that golf course.
Yeah.
It's on a golf course. You can do it for free. Well, not for free, but you can do it for fun and not get in trouble.
By free, you mean not going to jail.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You can stay free and do it.
And stay free.
Yeah. So no, we're going to get him on the line here in a minute and just talk to him about the process of buying that. I'm sure that
It's a big commitment.
it is a big commitment. Running a series, we had Richie Nolan on not too long ago, and running a series is a huge commitment.
Well, I want you to think. Talk to the guy who put the stakes in. If I'm not mistaken, they had put in on the last one was around 1,000 stakes in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of
It's
stakes.
a lot of stakes.
That's not counting all the ribbon.
How often is ribbon tore down
Ooh,
by riders?
Yeah, I mean,
And do they
they'll-
constantly like
yeah.
refixing it? And
yeah, they
everything?
have people that clear the track, like come behind and make sure no one's. So if they see something down, they radio.
Is there penalties for tearing down ribbon?
If you do it a lot, I'm pretty sure you get like docked or whatever. But they try to scare you a lot with it, so no one does it. Of course, there's accidents and stuff, but there's a lot of ribbon and a lot of work involved in that. So
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
but real quick, you want to talk about a little bit about motocross, right?
Yeah.
Real quick, do we have time? We have 3 minutes.
We got 3 minutes.
3
Okay.
minutes.
Yes. Let's talk real quick about
Real quick.
motocross. So Hurlings might be coming over.
That's the rumor. Jeffrey Hurlings.
Okay. Does Hurling win the championship if he comes over?
Man, I don't know, man. If he does, you got to put him up one of the best all-time greatest riders to ever ride.
Yeah.
If he would do it,
I mean,
you know what I mean.
I know we talked a little bit about it last week, but I think it's hard to come over and win on tracks that you've never ran before.
Mhm.
I know he did it. At Ironman,
Mhm.
but at that point in time, Tomac already had the championship locked up.
Yeah.
He wasn't racing that moto to his full extent, and I know Jeffrey went down
Yeah.
and came from last to beat him in
Well,
one of those motos.
Another thing is when you do that, you have nothing to lose.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? You show up, there's no pressure, there's no championship points, there's
Yeah.
no whatever. When you line up on that line on the first, everybody, it's free game. It's everybody's championship at that point.
and another thing is Jeffrey has a tendency to get hurt and
Right.
go down
Mhm.
a lot.
Yeah.
It seems like it happens to him a lot. So, I mean, to do anything, he's got to make it through a healthy season. Now, I hope he does come over because that's going to create a lot of hype around this season.
He's not the only one that possibly can make a come over, and it's Tony Cairoli.
Tony Cairoli, yeah.
He is retired from the MXGP, but
if you follow him on social media, he's been riding a lot lately.
If I'm not mistaken, he's actually already in the States.
Yeah.
And is riding down in Florida at the Baker's factory.
Really?
If I'm not, don't quote me on that. This is all hearsay, is what I'm hearing. But I could be totally wrong. But as far as I know, he might be at the Baker factory riding already. Not sure. They said he might run a couple and see where he's at in the points and go from there. But
yeah.
And then there's always, I don't know if you want to pronounce that name.
Hey, we have to try. We have to try at least.
So the big debate right now, there's also another rider that from MXGP that cannot race because of the war right now with Russia. So they FIM banned him. Or not banned him.
He is in the States. FIM and AMA have decided not to let him ride. His name is Vesvoland Bryakov.
Yeah, I don't. It's
what do you guys think? Do you guys think that he should be allowed to ride, or do you guys think that he should have to sit out due to the war between Russia and Ukraine?
Which, I understand. I'm on both sides. You know what I mean? If he wasn't riding for Russia, then just because he's Russian doesn't mean he shouldn't race. But if he wasn't riding for Russia, then yeah, let him race. But since he in the MXGP world, it's a world championship, and he rides for Russia.
Yeah.
So that's where I see the line being drawn, and I understand that on that one in that point. But he's already out of the championship over there. So if Russia and them can kind of get an agreement together with Ukraine or whatever that crap going on over there, if they can come up with an agreement. I think it's by May 28th.
Yeah.
I think he can line up on our line. So.
Hopefully he can line up. I mean, you hate to see an individual be punished due to something that's happening halfway across the world. So hopefully he's able to line up, and hopefully, he's able to race, and hopefully, in bigger picture, obviously, hopefully that conflict is resolved soon. Because nobody wants to see that stuff going on.
Yeah.
But
if all those guys line up with our guys, dude, it's going to be a crazy outdoor season.
I hope to see Hurlings, and I hope, I'm pretty sure we'll see Cairoli. I think Hurlings is like a 50-50 decision. Every day that goes by that we haven't heard an official announcement.
I think it's going to be up to KTM. I think it's up to KTM.
The thing is with KTM is I feel like their season, it has been abysmal to what they are typically used to. They are typically used to, at bare minimum, having a rider in the championship conversation.
Right.
And this year that's not been the case.
Well, Supercross has been one rider, and that's Marvin.
Yeah, and Marvin's not riding outdoors.
Right.
And I have a feeling Cooper's not riding outdoors.
Very possible. Even though he did come back, but he might take the outdoors off. So.
And then what's going on with AP? Is he going to be able to ride outdoors?
I think he's going to be okay for outdoors.
So are you going to? Is AP, who is currently hurt, is he going to be your lone horse for outdoors?
Yeah.
So that's something that's going to have to decide. Hurlings has already missed too many rounds for the GP series to win it, so it would make sense for him to come over here.
No caller ID.
No caller ID.
Wonder if that's.
I don't think so.
Okay. All good.
Sorry, I have his number. I'll call him back.
Okay.
If it is him.
If it is him. All right.
Yeah.
Because he's right on time, so that might be.
But I didn't give him my number.
Oh.
So we're going to be getting, I'm going to go ahead and give Josh Koscheck a call, and we're going to get him on the line and talk some full gas sprint enduros.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was going to say, I don't hear it.
It's coming.
Hello.
Hey, Josh.
Yes.
Hey, it's Rodney Cooper and Brandon Whitehair from the Split Line Show. Thanks for taking our call, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. I appreciate it. I'm on kind of I'm in the middle of like nowhere, basically, Goldsboro, North Carolina. So I don't know if we're live yet, but I need to probably call you from a different number.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Fine. We are live. But if you just want to give me a call back at this number, just whenever you're able to.
Yeah, I'm going to call you in 2 seconds because this phone I know is going to cut out, and then I don't want to be like that dude that cuts out in the middle of it.
Oh,
Understandable.
I'm going to call you in 2 seconds.
All right,
All right,
sounds
sounds
good,
good.
man. Thank you.
It's ringing right now.
Okay. There it is. All right. How's it going, Josh?
Yep. Good, yourself?
Oh, great, man. That actually sounds way better audio already. We appreciate it.
Guys, hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear you. Can you hear us well?
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. So, man, thanks for coming on the show today. I mean, it's not very often that we get to have people on the show that is in the same passion that we are with Dirt Bike Worlds, and is, I grew up watching you fight in the UFC, so it's really cool getting a chance to talk to you.
Yeah, no, it's kind of cool to talk about dirt bikes.
Yeah.
UFC's in the past. We're full gas now.
That's right, man.
That's right, man. That's right, man. So, yeah, man. New owner of the series, and it's been a really crazy endeavor for you to get into this world and being a series promoter. Talk us through a little bit of the decision to get into it like this.
I bought a property in Oxford, North Carolina, and I was like, you know what, maybe I'll just host some races, and then obviously I tried to buy the series right when he announced it in 2020 or whatever it was, but long story short, that didn't work out. There was too much drama going on, so I bowed out. So I bought a property in Oxford, and I was like, maybe I should just host some races or something, let me call Hooper. And because I know that he's dealt with AMA and how is it to deal with them, and I said, let's call him up. So I called him up and I said, all right, Hooper, I may want to put on some races at a property I own, and he's like, yeah, maybe, here's my experience. This is what I did, blah 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 with AMA, and I said, okay, cool. I said, well, what are you going to do with full gas? And he goes, I don't know, probably just keep it. I said, what, you going to put a freaking grave tombstone over that thing? I was like, let's get that thing back up and running. He goes, no, I don't want to do it. And I was like, well, that's why maybe I want to do it. I was like, send me what you want for it. And we talked for about a couple weeks, back and forth. I thought it was a dead deal there for a while again, and then out of the blue, I just said, I'm going to text him and say, hey, what's the status? Are we doing this deal or not? I submitted you an offer. Here it is. Take it. Let's get this thing going. And I told him my vision of what I wanted to do. And pretty much, he's like, yeah, this is a good deal. Let's do it. And here we are, round 3 already completed, waiting for our mid-season of our 6-round series break, and we're heading into the iconic Hidden Valley Golf Course.
Oh yeah.
Every time there's been a race there, it's been sold out. So I'm going to tell people now they better get online and sign up now, because quite honestly, we changed it to only allow 200 and 200 riders, so we can have 400 riders total on the adult, amateur, and pro day. I think we're gonna push the numbers high on that. So so my suggestion is that people get online now and get signed up, because we're only taking 200, because the format that we have and the amount of miles that we run to get everybody an hour and 20 plus minutes, or relatively close to an hour and 20 minutes, we have to limit, we have to cap it,
right?
So it kind of sucks to do that, but it's the format that we run, and I think that people better get online and get signed up now, because the spots are filling up.
Oh yeah.
Brandon, you signed up?
Not yet. We're
better do
going
it now.
to sign up. We've already been to the first 3. We're going to make it to the 4th one, and especially it says it's the closest one to us. So, also, Josh, this weekend, the next one is, I know you didn't mention it, but I know the youth riders are actually going to run Saturday and Sunday, right?
Yeah, they're going to get, we have, since it's a pretty big weekend, it's a holiday weekend, 4-day weekend, we figured, let's try something new. And we're going to let the kids run actually 12 tests. So So that's going to be pretty good test for the little guys, to run Saturday and Sunday. Youth will run 12 tests. We're looking at some other ideas. I'm possibly going to do a pit bike race, pit bike full gas sprint enduro on Saturday evening. I'm not sure yet. Just working with the web people, because our system's very complex, on the back end of signing up and things like that. So it's going to be even a challenge to do the 2-day, because we've now changed our whole back system for a one day event. So we're going to have to figure out the logistics on that to make it happen. And hopefully that we'll be able to total both points for the day and make that count as one full weekend of racing. So, there's, like I said, the pit bike we're thinking very hard about doing, because I think it'd be something cool to have a sprint enduro pit bike race.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't announced it or anything. I guess we're announcing it now, but we're looking at it very hard. We're looking at some other things to just kind of, make it a fun full weekend. So people, if they do want to come and ride the whole weekend, they can. We're also looking at potentially having a class, like a trail riders class, that can ride Saturday and Sunday. So you could get 20 tests in if you desire to race both days, but you'd have to race. If you race on Saturday, the trail riders, you'd have to race on Sunday. We're looking at that as well, just to kind of make it to where people can spend the whole weekend with us up in Hidden Valley.
Yeah. The place is beautiful, and it's all, like I was telling everybody before you came on, it's a golf course. So if you ever want to ride on a golf course, it's the best place to go try it out. So I actually had a couple people message me about it, and they're like, "Hey, you need to ask Josh. Are we going to?" They want to know if we can see some more jumps on the on the motocross part.
At Hidden Valley, there's going to be obviously some T-box jumps.
Yeah.
You got to look at our data. If you go and you look at our data on the riders, our biggest class is 50 plus C, 50 plus B. Our 60 riders, they don't want to be jumping jumps.
Right.
I mean, full gas isn't about who could jump the furthest. If you wanted to do that, you'd go do supercross and motocross.
Yeah.
It's about a single track, that you go and you go fast on.
Right.
So for us, we've been putting in a couple of jumps. I mean, GTR, there was a couple good jumps in there. I don't know. I think maybe there was a couple in the South Carolina one that we did there at GTR. Outback definitely had some
mm-hmm.
jumps, and then I believe there was one or two in up in Lake Sugar Tree. So it's not about jumping. To me, you're just asking for, a disaster. Insurance liability goes up even more. Obviously we have a great insurance company through the AMA, but still, you just don't want to see people ruining their season and getting
Did we lose him?
fast as possible, but safe as possible. We spend almost 7 days straight. There's 4 or 5 people setting up these tracks, and we're picking, little sticks off the sides of the track and clearing things back just to make it so people aren't, coming up on something like, for example, a pile of leaves, and you don't know what's under those leaves.
Right.
So we try to do our best to make the tracks safe as possible, fun, flowy, and fast.
Yeah. No, they've been fun, man. Like I said, I've done all 3, and they've been just like that. And that's one reason there's 2 reasons I really chose your series. Was the 1-day event, because it works for my work schedule, and we're able to travel and not have to take a bunch of days off work. And the other was, so far the tracks have been fun. They've been fast. They're good for everybody, even if you're an advanced rider or a beginner rider. So that's what's really cool about them.
Yeah, we've only literally have had one complaint on our tracks the whole year, and it was one email, and I had to congratulate him and say, I was like, hey, congratulations, you're the first complaint on our track. It was an email. He didn't leave, his name or anything, but he said that our enduro track at Lake Sugar Tree was too switchbacky, too turny. I said, well, hell, your dirt bike has a freaking steering wheel. You know what I mean? Like put your foot up and turn.
Right.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, that's part of the fun.
Yeah, exactly. Fly into a turn and put your foot up. And, obviously early on the amateur day, the track I don't believe the track is as good as it is on the pro day.
It isn't.
Yeah.
Because the lines aren't broken in like they need to. Like when I ride it, I mean, I'm out there testing on it and I'm like, man, this track, is this going to even be good? Because my times are crappy because there's no lines. I can't put my foot up in the turns because, there's nothing to stick to.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's still fun, but I like to always try to at the end of the race or go back a couple weeks later and ride the actual same loop. so I can get some, to see how fun it was. Really.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what me and my nephew, we race. We're like, we like it that the amateurs are on Saturday because we get the track isn't as rough, but then we're like, the lines kind of suck. So you get both. You get that's nice, but oh man, this would be nice to have a nice rut or a good line to come through here. So, the other thing is so how do you the series seems like it's picking up pretty good. How long, I don't want to put a time on it, but how long do you think it would take to get back to where you were, like the rebuilding process?
Well, I have a 3-year plan for Full Gas right now. Haven't looked very much further than that. So you got to think about the pro riders. They sign deals, and their contracts usually last about 2 to 3 years with a particular pro. Like for example, if I was going to go sign with Yamaha, my deal would be 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
2 to 3 years. Typically. So hopefully these guys will start putting the Full Gas into their contracts when they renegotiate.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously because a lot of the riders love the one-day event.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're already traveling so much to GNCCs, National Enduros, and all these other series that they do. And it's like, hey, if I can go and make the same amount of money as you can in GNCC and it's only one day, 10 tests, and I can get there and get home in the same day, why not do it? You know? So yeah, I mean, obviously we're working on contingency deals for 2023. I'm going to have 3 new locations in 2023 that have never been raced in Full Gas and 3 existing. I don't know which 3 existing ones we're going to have yet, but I'm still in the works of looking for new venues. I want to make it new venues every year and kind of, obviously add in some different flavors of tracks. So, if there's any other tracks out there people want to, send my way, put it into Full Gas in comments and let us know where we can host the Full Gas. So Lake Sugar Tree, quite honestly, was about 140 acres. It was very tight on the enduro side for us.
Yeah.
But we worked with the land, and I thought we put on an amazing course there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It was good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one of the things you mentioned was the fact that the contingencies that you guys pay and how they're really comparable to what they're making at GNCC when they're there all weekend. And it's awesome to see a series that you're able to and wanting to help the pro riders, further and better their lives in this sport because that's their job and a lot of times these guys are far underpaid than what they should be, and so it's cool to see a series stepping up in that category as well.
Yeah, I'm probably the first series to offer year-end bonuses up and put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, for me, it's if I could, obviously I took this thing over October 7th, and basically that's what I took it over is basically I went and picked up the trailer, picked up, all the equipment, and I didn't know anything. I was like, how the hell am I going to operate this stuff? So I had to scramble to even put on a season in 2022,
right?
Because I didn't have any sponsorship deals. I had I had no clue on how to run and operate the website, the back end on the website. I had no clue how to, basically register and sign people up for the race. I had no clue on any of that. Thank God I had some, hours in our contract for Hooper to support me to figure out, hey, what this person can do, this person can do. But I went out and rehired, a bunch of special operators for, the soft community. So retirees and active duty guys that are active duty right now, to support, because they understand how to perform under pressure. And, obviously hosting a race like this, you got to perform under pressure. If someone's transponder doesn't work, what do? We have a backup to a backup. So, we have somebody handwriting down times as you go across the thing. We have obviously the transponder, and then we have a video camera. The first round, Ben Nelko, his transponder didn't beep, or actually Evan Smith, one of them didn't beep. And so we went to the backup system and got his time to the dot, to the 10th. That's kind of where what we've implemented in place. But like I said, I have operators, that are basically, supporting this whole effort. So it's been pretty amazing to have them on board. A great staff, all the way down to the track builders. Obviously I help on every aspect of it. So it's kind of a lot of work, and I don't think anybody would realize or know how much work goes into putting on one of these races.
Right. I'm sure it's an insane amount of work, and the backup systems that you have for transponders and everything that you've said that you guys are doing. I mean, that's stuff that you typically see people doing stuff like that with their 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th year into running a series, and to see you operating it in such a awesome manner and really kind of having it dialed in. And then if something isn't dialed in, you have a backup system for it this early in your tenure with the series. It's pretty amazing, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like to be, obviously spot on anything I do. A lot of people in this industry don't really know me. Pretty ADD when it comes to, getting things done, and having it right. So it's just one of the things when you want to be a professional and you want to, put on a great event, you got to have everything in place. And that's what we kind of did. We did about 3 tests before our first round. We went out and we tested the equipment a couple times, and then we went to my house, set everything up inside and did some tests. But like I said, this isn't anything to do with me. Only thing I did was put a team together.
Yeah.
The team is knocked it out of the park. Pretty much now on Sundays at the races, we pretty much, announce the pro riders, and then it's like everybody just goes. We don't even really need anybody standing at the at the starting line, of the enduro or the cross. I mean, it's pretty amazing now. Obviously on the amateur day and the kids day, those knuckleheads, that's probably you guys, you knuckleheads, run through our banner 300 times, like alter the course, and before you know it, our stakes are knocked over. I'm just like, oh my God. So, it's like, hey, stay between, white is on your right, stay in between the daggone banners. Let me just say this. If you knuckleheads knew how hard it was to pound 1,500 stakes, 1,500 plus stakes, sometimes in the rain, your knucklehead butts would stay between the lines. That's for sure.
That's funny.
Oh, yeah.
We have a local Hare Scramble series that sponsors our show, and it's funny you mentioned that, because he was on the show. What was it? A couple weeks ago, and he was saying, like, as far as field sections go, he doesn't understand how you guys do it with all the stakes and everything. He was like, give me like a dozen hay bales, because I know that they can't cut through hay bales, like big round bales.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a total pain in the butt, but it's part of owning the series,
Yep.
I'm sure.
So big question. The quad guys want to know when their race is coming.
Yeah. Oh my God. I've got a promoter that's been calling me every week he wants to do a fall/winter series with full gas, and he's like, you don't have to do anything. I said, you're wrong, bro. I was like, no, I do have to do. There's so much that you don't even see that we do every stinking day, to promote, to run in the back end. There's web people involved. It's like, I was like, yeah, I'd love to make it easy for you and just say, here you go, but it doesn't work that way. If I want to be divorced, and then, obviously, I would say, let's do 6 more rounds or 10 more rounds. But I don't want to go down that path. So right now we got a 3-year plan. We're going to build this thing back up, at 6. My goal is to continue doing 6 rounds. I think it's a sweet spot. It's not too many. It's not overkill, especially obviously there's another series out there that does the same thing that we do, or similar to what we do. So I don't want to muddy the water more than what we are. I think 6 is a great season, and obviously it gives people a taste of what's to come in the future. So like I said, I have a 3-year plan. We'll reevaluate where full gas is in 3 years, and then we'll figure out how to make improvements and do things. So, we're listening to the riders. We get comments all the time, and we make adjustments right or left when needed be. But, it's this off-road racing really truly reminds me of the old days of MMA in the UFC. Yeah. There's a select few of people that make money, and the riders don't make crap. And that's how it was in the old days in the UFC. There was only one organization that made money, and that was the organization, the UFC. The riders, it was take it or leave it. And, my goal is to drive the value for the riders up. I think it would be the right thing to do. Obviously I get into this. I didn't start this business or take full gas over to lose money, but I want to give money back to the riders. And that's my main goal, is to help grow their purses and make it easier for them to do what they love, because this sport truly is old school. There's select groups that I guess select groups that haven't changed for a long, long time. And it's time to take this. It's 2022. Let's get these guys paid.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's get them for what they're worth, and let's grow this thing. But it also is, obviously, full gas. It depends upon other riders coming and riding our event too, to help pay these guys more money.
Right.
So if the amateur riders don't show up, then obviously it affects and hurts that promoter. So it's a catch-22. But the sponsors are great, because that money can go help pay their purses. So there's a lot of things I think that can improve in the off-road community. Am I the guy to do it? Who knows? I'll try. I'll try to push the envelope to make these guys make more money. Just because I think that's the right thing to do, because I was in their shoes as a young MMA fighter, and this was my desire. This is my dream, to go in there and compete and make money. And if you go in there and compete and you don't really make any money, what's the point of going in there and competing?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And your take on that is really refreshing, because what I like about what you're saying is you came from a different world, and like you said earlier in the show, a lot of these a high majority of the people that are in this racing community have been in it since pretty much birth, right, Brandon?
Right. Yeah.
So it's cool to see you coming in and bringing an outside perspective on that situation, and particularly the money situation with the riders, and we see it, we talk about it as well on the show, about how we feel that they need to be paid more, they're worth more. They're the ones out there risking their life for to make a life for themselves, doing what they love. So hearing you talk about that and how you appreciate that, because it's kind of a lot like where you came from in MMA, it's just really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably be blackballed. Full gas will probably be blackballed by the end of this thing.
No way.
But I don't really care. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'm just speaking my mind, and if you don't like it, it's, you know, hey, don't come to full gas. You know, but I'm going to put on badass shows. You know, badass tracks. And I can tell you this: you'll have consistency. When you show up at a full gas, if we say the start time is 8 a.m., guess what? You better be there because the start time's at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Our events, out of the 3 events that we've put on, they've only been off. One event has been off by 5 minutes at the end of it because we had somebody tear down about a mile of banner at the first event. So, you know, so if you come to full gas, you're going to get consistency. You're going to get a great track, 2 great tracks, and then you're going to get starting on time. So every 30 minutes, you will be lined up. The pros will be taking off for the next test, and we stick to that. You know, it's like clockwork. Oh, yep. Hey, it's 11 o'clock. Let's go. 11:30, go. 12 o'clock, go. 12:30, go. 1 o'clock, go. All the way until 4 o'clock. 4:30, last ones roll out. Done. 10 tests. Hour to hour and 25 minutes of riding time plus for the pros. You know, we've had some people get 2 hours and 14, 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, trust me, I don't even go back to the truck. I have my wife bring a water, and I just kind of like find this place to put my bike, and I just chill up by the starting line.
Yeah.
Because they just keep rolling, man. You guys keep it rolling, and that's what's awesome about it. You're there all day, but it doesn't feel like you're there for 3 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I did full gas. The only full gas I ever did is the Hidden Valley Golf Course. Right before he closed it down in 2020. I was like, oh my God, I can't wait till 2021. I'm going to do all these full gases. This thing's awesome.
Yep.
And what it did for me is it helped me work on my sprint speed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, cause my cross test sucks. It's horrible. You know, I'm better in the woods because I do a lot more riding there, but I was like, okay, I'm going to train for this thing. I'm going to do it. And then he did the announcement, and I was like, oh my God, that's horrible. And that's obviously when everybody was trying to buy it. You know, all the drama went on with the other guy, and hopefully Tyler, you know, will come out the box on that one and have some people on there that can really open up the light on that, because I think that there's more to be told than what's out there. And I'm not saying anything, but I'll let Tyler and those other people do all the talking. I was an innocent standby guy on the backside, and I was like, hey, I will partner. I will put this much money up. Here it is. I was like, you guys figure it out. And, you know, obviously that all fell through. And then I had to wait a year, obviously, to pull it off. And, you know, things calmed down. And full gas, if I didn't pull full gas out right this year, you would have put a tombstone over it and it would have been done. You would have never had another full gas. You may have had one, but it would have never been as successful as it been this year so far.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. What was good about it is you brought it back with it when it was in really recent memory. So, you know, that year off, I think just made people crave it more. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Well, so we really appreciate it, because that's one of our main series we're running this year as a family. So we really appreciate it. We really enjoy those races, and we really appreciate you taking the reins on it.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's like I said, it's a team effort. You know, I mean, I just was the guy that had the vision of it, making it, and, you know, made the deal happen, and I put a lot of good people around me. So, you know, but I'm like I said, I have a 3-year plan for it, and then we're going to reevaluate in 3 years. My goal is to do 6 rounds each year. I'd love to do more than that, but man, I'll tell you, setting these courses up in the amount of time that you have and the things that you have going on in life. I have a 7-month-old, so a newborn basically. You know, I have another business that's very successful that, you know, obviously I have to take time away from that, you know, to do the full gas. I don't need full gas, but I believe that full gas needed me, you know, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I am so busy in my life. I have no time for anything other than, you know, work family, and work. I don't work out very much anymore. Although I did buy an Airdyne this week, and I started doing a couple of those like 30-minute workouts that I have I used to do. But I don't like ride my dirt bike that much. And I've sacrificed big time to have full gas. And I can understand why Hooper only had it for the amount of years he did. He needed to take a break and get out of it, because people don't understand how freaking hard it is setting up these courses and how much time goes into promoting. So any promoter out there, I have mad respect for, that promotes any type of off-road racing event. They get it. They understand how hard it is to do. And listen, I've been known to like not complain about hard work, and I'll never complain about how hard it is. I'm just telling people that it is very difficult to put on one of these races. There's a lot of effort and a lot of time, and I can understand why Hooper needed to take a break from it,
Right.
So, for me, it's obviously it takes away from, things in my life, but it's a sacrifice I made. It's a decision I made, and I'll find time to make it successful. And that's my goal. I'm a guy that basically came from, nothing in Waynesburg, Pennsylvania. My grandfather, rest in peace, Grandpap. But, at one point I was talking to him, as a senior high school. And, I said, hey, Pap, I was like, my buddy Lowell, his parents are paying for him to go to school. I was like, where do I get to go to school? And he looks me in the eyes and goes, shit, boy, you look around here? And I go, yeah, I see. He goes, you look around again. He says, we're broke. You ain't going to school. I ain't paying for you to go to school. He says, you better get a scholarship or you're going to the Army, So for me, anything I've ever done is a testament to how hard I'm willing to work for something. So, coming from Waynesburg, Pennsylvania, I was a runner-up in high school wrestling. Became a 4-time All-American National Champ Division I wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the UFC, fought for the title against George St. Pierre. Had a mediocre, ending of my career, just because I was just like, shit, got to keep fighting until they keep paying me. They're paying me too much to do this. So, keep collecting those checks. Obviously I trained hard every fight, never took a day off.
Right.
Type of thing. But it's there's a couple things that my grandfather instilled in me. It's never let grass go under your feet, and hard work pays off.
Right.
Yeah. That's words of wisdom for sure. And speaking of your collegiate career, Doug Kirk, a listener of our show and also a sponsor of our show, mentioned that he was a fellow alumni of where you went to school. So he said he remembered watching you wrestle in college. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So, hey, Josh, we won't take up any more of your time, man. Obviously, we really appreciate your time tonight and coming on the show. And hey, I think the 6-round series, I like that sweet spot as well. I think, Brandon, for you, it's not a huge commitment as far as
it's a big commitment.
I mean, it's a big commitment, but when you're looking at other series that run for almost the full year,
right.
This is something that's manageable to a working family like yourself. So I like that too. I think, Josh, it's a sweet spot as well. And hey, we're excited to see what's coming into the 3-year plan for Full Gas.
Awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys having me on, and look forward to seeing you at the Iconic. And I say iconic because it always sells out. So Iconic Hidden Valley, May 28th and 29th. Get your butts on the Full Gas Sprint Enduro. Sign up because it's going to sell out.
That's right. I'll be there.
Absolutely. All right, Josh, we're going to let you go, man. Again, appreciate your time, buddy, and we'll talk to you down the road.
All right. Cheers, guys.
All right, later.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool, man. Hearing the story and you started hearing at the end there, like, where he came from and what really instilled the work and, where he got his work from, his work ethic.
Yeah. He didn't want to talk too much about his UFC career, but man, it was so cool seeing him come from that world and into this world of moto and racing. And I really, really like the fresh outlook that he has going into owning a series, because like we've said before, Brandon, like everybody that's in this game is a lifer in this game. And you don't often see somebody cross jump from a different discipline to what we have now, and to be able to do that and then bring fresh ideas and bring like, hey, it doesn't have to be like this. It was like this over here, 20 years ago in the fighting game. And that's what I see over here in the dirt bike industry. So it's cool to see. And I really, really enjoy his perspective.
Yeah, that's a really cool perspective, because we always have that talk all the time that these guys, I mean, they make decent money, but they should be making great money. And the only guys that are making decent money are the top guys. I would say anybody below the top 5 is probably trying to make ends meet each and every week if you're just a full-time racer.
Yeah, and like we had Brendan Poling in last week, I'm sorry, and he is a perfect example of somebody that eats, sleeps, and breathes this sport, and works his tail off to try to make a living at it and be able to do it for more than just fun.
Right.
And it's cool to see. I feel like, if you start at the top, everything's going to trickle down as far as money goes, as far as sponsorships go, as far as being able to sufficiently operate your life around your craft.
Right.
And, to a lot of these guys, this is their craft. This is their work.
This is what they're good at.
They do this on a day-to-day basis, and they work just as hard as anybody that goes and does a normal job and then ended up going. And a lot of them have normal jobs as well.
A lot of them work either 40 hours a week or they find odd jobs to get them through the week or get gas to get to the to get to the racetrack.
This sport is as grassroots as it gets.
Yes.
It really is. And I think that is also one of the things that makes the sport so popular, is because a lot of these riders is just like you and me. They work hard during the week and they get ready for the race week at the end of the day.
And then speaking of our next caller, Coach Robb will be coming on, and to where reason I was putting this up there was, they got to put hours and fitness in too.
Yeah, it's tough. And it's a really good segue to talking to Coach Robb, because, as Josh was talking just a few minutes ago, he's not been able to work out that much, and he's just now trying to get back into working out. I'm sure he's insane.
Yeah, he doesn't look out of shape.
I'm sure his out of shape is not nearly like our out of shape.
The first time I ever saw him was at the first race, and he was running on it, getting on a bike and taking off and trying to get to the pizza man that was bringing lunch for his guys, and he was just running everywhere, So he's not.
Yeah. So we're gonna get Coach Robb on the phone. If any of you guys, we have questions that you guys listed out to ask him. We're gonna try to ask as many as we can. If you guys have any questions that you want to ask and you didn't get a chance to hit us up on the post, make sure you list those in the comment section, and we will try to get to as many as we can. Coach Robb is a person that is full of information. So if I were you guys, I would get a pen and paper out and get ready to take some notes, because this is going to be good. If it's anything like the last time that we had him on, the man is full of information, and he's a huge fan of the show too. So that's awesome as well.
It's always good.
Good evening, guys. How are you?
Hey, Coach Robb, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for the call.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for being on the show. Man, it's been, Brandon and I were talking before the show started, and it's hard to believe it's been actually a while since we had you on previous. So we're pumped to have you on again.
Thank you so much, man. It's funny. We were just talking in our staff meeting. I can't believe we're getting ready to look at the beginning of April next week. We're like, what? Or excuse me, the beginning of May. It's like, say what?
Yeah.
We were just talking about Q1 being over, and now the first month of Q2 is already behind us.
Right. And
it's crazy.
I'll tell you what, man, you've been busy. You've been overseas and you've been over in the States, back in the States.
Yeah, it's the season, right? It's we're very thankful. We kind of have a joke in our office. We've been doing this since '87, and it's kind of crazy because you plant a lot of seeds over the years. You just never know which one's going to really take off. And we're very, very blessed. All of the seed seems to have grown and sprouted in one way or another. So we're actually heading over to the UK the last week in May, and we'll be there for almost 10 weeks. We'll be giving presentations to everything from off-road. They're actually doing an off-road event at the base of a castle up in northern Scotland.
Wow.
And yeah, I don't know if you guys remember Kevin Murray from Scotland. He's got 8 gold medals at the ISDE.
Okay, yeah, I'll say that name sounds familiar.
Yes, sir. So he started a company called Ride Scotland, and he's doing a 2-wheel festival tied in with a off-road race that's going to go on for literally 3 complete days. They're expecting almost 4,000 motorcycles.
Wow.
So I've got a couple presentations in a performance camp there. We're going to start actually in the southern part and make our way all the way north to Scotland. Then we jump over to Ireland. One of the MXGP tracks in Ireland is having us do a performance camp there. Then we go back to London, do another presentation. Then we go to Amsterdam, and then we come back. So a pretty busy schedule. We're actually speaking at grass track, flat track, off-road, and moto. So a pretty good portfolio of listeners. So very, very blessed to be able to do that. And then we come back and go straight to Loretta's, and along the lines, we got to keep this GNCC machine rolling for our riders here.
You're right. And speaking of one of your riders, man, Mike has been looking great this year. He was looking good last year after the break, but he seems like
he came out on fire this year for sure.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And I can't take any credit for it. All I can do is guide the beast in the belly. You know, you guys have been around him enough to know he's very, very quiet. He's a very nice person, but super fierce competitor. He's a fantastic student, and I don't want that to come across as condescending. Mike likes to learn. Mike likes to ask a lot of questions. When he questions something, he's not trying to be belligerent. He really sincerely wants to know. And I say this with every single athlete I ever work with, whether they're on a 65, whether they're on an 85 like Kate Nash, or they're a vet rider like Dave Youngless. The bottom line is I need to make sure that I need to earn their trust. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. Yes, I've worked with Charlie Mullins. I've worked with Luke and Ben Parsons. I've worked with Chris Bach. I've worked with Roman Brown. If those names matter to you, that's great. They're great people. We had great results together. The difference is I have to earn the trust of every athlete, and that includes Mike Witowski. You know, he's kind enough to allow me to be a part of his journey, a sincere part of his career. I take it very seriously, and he listens. He asks a lot of questions, and I know it's a repetitive comment, but I really want the listeners to understand that guy is a true student of the sport. And I don't mind telling you guys, you know, when we started 2022, we had cleaned up a lot of things during the off season. But the thing that we're really focusing on, and this is me, the physiologist, I'm always looking at Mike's times and comparing them. You know, how do we compare when we look at Ben Cali? How do we look at Ashburn or Bollinger? Because it's not if we're going there. We know we're going there. Mm-hmm. And that's not any disrespect to the XC2 class. But it doesn't matter if I'm working with an 85 rider. I always tell the parents, we need to make sure that you're strong enough for that transition to the 125. And so forth and so on. And that doesn't always go over very well, because if you have an athlete that has not hit puberty yet, yes, by the time they go to that bigger bike, puberty will have kicked in, but there's got to be a sense of patience, which a lot of the parents are not big fans of. So they're like, you're not smashing my client or my child or my rider, my racer, whatever adjective they give them. And I have to politely part ways. I can't give you what you want. I have to give your athlete what they need. And again, that doesn't always go over very well, but that's what Mike's done a great job with, is saying, okay, what do I need to do in the next 18 months to be ready for the next 24 months? Because that's kind of the window that we're looking at, as you guys know so well.
Yeah. And what I think is really crazy is you don't teach him how to ride. You just work with his body. You just work with his fitness and his eating and nutrition, you know, all that stuff. You don't really go out and say, hey, pick your elbow up, right?
Yes and no. I don't want to come across the wrong way. Mm-hmm. You're exactly right. I work on the strength, the flexibility. I work on the different energy systems, whether it be sprint speed, endurance, lactate tolerance. I work on the sports psychology. But if I'm doing, like when we go to the UK, we were in Australia quite a bit 2 years ago. When I do a performance camp, I do take the riders out to the track. But what I do differently is I integrate the physiology of the body against the integration of physics. I always refer to the motorcycle as a gyroscope. You can look at a quad, you can look at a motorcycle. It's constantly moving through a three-dimensional plane. You know, what's going on in the left and the right peg, above and below the seat, in front and behind the pegs. Well, as a human being, we move in those same three planes. Where the danger comes in is if you're not strong enough and you don't have the right, what we call strength to flexibility ratios, you're not able to do the biomechanics necessary to corner, jump, all the things that we have to do. Think about it this way. If I'm doing something to complement an existing riding coach, and there's tremendous riding coaches out there, if the riding coach is frustrated that a particular rider cannot keep their foot from dabbing in the corner, let me ask you a quick question. While you're listening, stick your right leg out off the chair that you're sitting on right now. Stick your right leg out. As you go to raise that foot, raise your leg physically off the seat that you're sitting in, and then try to hold that up for 5 seconds. As that starts to kind of kick in a little bit, let me ask you, is the discomfort and the tension in the front of your hip flexor, is that the weight of lifting your leg, or is it the resistance that's coming from your hamstrings that's not flexible?
Hamstrings for sure for me.
There you go. And that's what makes it really interesting is I'll talk to the riding coach, find out what their frustration with the rider is, go do an assessment. Is it a strength? Is it a flexibility? Is it a little bit of both? Is it a disproportionate percentage? Maybe they're overstrong by 80 and under flexible by 20. I don't know. And we have a series of assessments that we put athletes through, and we do it all remotely. You know, we don't have the privilege of working with everybody one-on-one. That's why I do performance camps around the world is, yes, you come to one of our performance camps, I'm going to have you bring your food log, and I'm going to have you bring some preliminary materials that we send to you. But what's important is at the end of the weekend, you see I don't want this to come across the wrong way. We've had people that have hired us and they said, Rob, you don't understand. I'm in shape. Look at me. I'm like, yeah, you look good in the mirror. You're in shape. You're just not in shape to race a motorcycle. You're not in shape to race a quad. And that's where we have to earn the trust of Mike or Kate or Dave, is making sure that they understand, okay, we have to address your weaknesses. And once we create and convert those weaknesses to strengths, and then we race those strengths to expose everyone else's weaknesses, now you have the upper hand. And quite frankly, that's what we've done with Mike this year, is just simply convert his weaknesses to strengths. It's not like I'm teaching him how to go fast on a dirt bike. I think that's pretty understood. At least I hope so for the average listener that may not know me. I hope that people understand I don't take credit for Mike's success. I just try to funnel the energy to make sure that he doesn't overtrain or undertrain. And that's where the science comes in. Heart rate, looking at his strain scores, sleep cycles, and we have all the resources that do that. Anybody who's listening, the good part about it is it doesn't require any work on your behalf. All you have to do is wear a Garmin watch. And then we have an analytics division where that's all we do all day long is look at analytics. So if Rodney goes out and rides tonight, when he texts me and says, hey, I got done riding, I can go in and look at his average speed, his max speed, his average heart rate, max heart rate. If Brandon goes out and rides, I'm like, hey, Brandon, I need your weight before and after. How much fluid did you consume? I can calculate your sweat rate. Well, think about that. You put all that together, you wake up tomorrow morning. If you've slept well, meaning you got 2 hours of deep sleep, you got 5 sleep cycles, you had very little wake up time, then that tells me you absorbed the riding session that you did tonight. Now we can decide what we're going to do tomorrow. I have an outline, but that outline is going to be tweaked, it's going to be tweaked based on how your body adapted to what you did today. And that's what our specialty is. I'll be blunt to the listeners. You know, we're not everybody's cup of tea, because some people say it's too structured. And what I always love is when someone says, you're not pushing me hard enough. And it's interesting because you can talk to Mike. There's workouts that are pretty rough, but we only do them when we know for sure his body's ready to take it on.
Mhm.
And then we make sure he has enough time to actually absorb it. Some people have heard me publicly speak and say, I say it all the time, overtraining isn't how much work you can do. It's the inability to absorb the work that you did. That's really what overtraining is. Because if you take Mike or you take Stu, I couldn't go do the volume that they do on the bike, but that doesn't mean that Stu is overtraining. It doesn't mean that Mike's overtraining, because I can't absorb that volume that they can. That's just because they've been racing longer, et cetera, et cetera. But to just bluntly say, okay, if somebody's training 20 hours a week off the motorcycle or the quad through overtraining is not an accurate statement. You could have somebody that trains 6 hours a week and is overtraining because they have a family, they're running a business. We have other things in our lives other than riding, which sometimes gets in the way. But the bottom line is we have to factor that in. So it's a lot of fun in the bigger picture, but that's why I love my job.
Yeah. You made a lot of good comments there. I actually joined your Moto E membership.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I've been getting into it and looking and when you were talking about the workouts, I'm like, man, he only wants me to be in heart rate zone 2 for this little bit. Like, this is a workout. Like, and because like I'm always been, I was on that big fad of hit cardio, do a lot of hit, do a lot of and then plus I like to work out like extra with like lift weights because this is what I like
Sure.
to, but
That's your background. Yep.
Right. But the other side of it was, all right, I need to do hit. I need to get my heart rate up, get it high, keep it high, get it low, get it back up. And then I go to, and see Coach Robb stuff. I'm like, man, heart rate 2 zone. Like, I feel like I'm barely moving. Like, you know what I mean? Like, well, you're not barely moving, but
Sure.
But I'll tell you what, I did one, and in the workout, I was sweating so much. I was like, man, this is pretty interesting.
Well, I want the listeners to think about it. If you jump on your motorcycle or you jump on your quad and you go out and you ride it in second gear, and for the listeners, the acronym that you gave out, HIT, it just is an acronym for high interval intensity training. So the idea here is your heart rate's redlining. Well, if I have you jump on your motorcycle or your quad and ride in second gear for 1 hour, how excessively stressed is the system versus if I let you lug it in lower? Now, I'm not saying lug it like, you don't know what you're doing. I'm saying keeping it in the sweet spot of the power band. It's always fascinating to me when you watch these pros, they're not bouncing off the rev limiter like the amateurs are. Mm-hmm. But yet with all the video coverage that we have and all the TV coverage that we have, if you listen to the bikes go by, they're always in the low end of and why is that? You're in that torque curve. I love motorcycle. I love anything about a motor. And I always say to people, it amazes me how the riders will go out and bounce. And even if it's a 2-stroke, I know it doesn't have a rev limiter, but when that 2-stroke is signed off and is no longer accelerating. Mm-hmm. Now that takes some experience. Obviously the younger riders, it's a little bit more difficult for them to pick that up. But just because the bike is making a boatload of noise does not mean the bike is actually accelerating. Right. So if I can get you to change your mindset about the motorcycle, I'm not saying bog it and make it want to, stall on you, but stop bouncing off the rev limiter, because now if I need to get the front wheel up over something and I'm in the low RPM curve, I've got that torque where I can just pull back, blip the throttle, and the front end comes up. And that's even on a smaller bore 2-stroke. Right. Now take that over to the motorcycle. Take that over to the human body. The number one limiting factor when it comes to going fast and going fast for a long period of time is not anaerobic threshold, it's aerobic capacity. Because as soon as and this is a word that everybody's heard, but very few people understand it. As soon as you go anaerobic, you're trying to function without the presence of oxygen, hence the word anaerobic. Everyone goes, well, duh, Rob, I get it. Well, then why do you keep trying to race at that high level? Because if you go out, and we've all done it, but I always like to take it out of the context of our sport. Let's take it over to my professional runners. If I have a professional runner that goes out, let's say, and I know these numbers may not really mean anything to the listeners, but I've got runners that can run a sub 4-minute mile and they can hold that for a 10K, no problem. Well, if they go out at a 3:45 and they blow up, they're only coming backwards because they went anaerobic. Well, what's the difference between that and trying to finish a 3-hour race and you go and smoke yourself in the first 45 minutes of a 3-hour race? Which direction can you go? Further forward, or are you going to come backwards?
Right.
And that's what I always try to say to the athletes is, and this applies to Mike, Kate, Dave, it would apply to Rodney or Brandon. The idea here is you need to be able to race at 80% effort, stay aerobic. So that way, when you put the bike down and you have to pick it back up, you stall it, you have to crank it, you give yourself a little bit of wiggle room. Now, some people listening would roll their eyes and go, that's crazy. You can't win a race at 85%. I have enough results to prove you wrong. I have enough heart rate data to prove you wrong. Not because I'm trying to be correct. I just want people to understand when you train incorrectly, it only spews over into racing incorrectly. So when you've got, and this is no disrespect to anybody that may own this description, but just because you worked out of a factory rig does not make you a physiologist. And that's the problem that we run into is everybody's an expert. Everybody's now a coach. Everybody's now a riding coach. And it's pretty scary when you think about some of these facilities that are being run with absolutely no rhyme or reason behind why we're doing what we're doing. We're just doing it because this guy's a pro. He's had some previous success, and now all of a sudden he's the expert on lactate tolerance, anaerobic threshold, lactic acid shuffle, and they don't understand. And the scary part is they don't know how to evaluate when an athlete is overdoing it, and then we get plagued with the dreaded Epstein-Barr or chronic fatigue syndrome. Yep. And you guys both know what happens when you get diagnosed with that. You're done.
You're done.
Yeah, you're done.
Ken Roxon,
but it could be avoided.
Right.
It literally 100% can be avoided, and that's where our analytics division comes in. I mean, I have a full-time programmer that I've worked with for over 15 years, and we scrape the data behind the scenes off of the Garmin platform, and we run it through 25 platforms of evaluation every hour. Now, that's what we do. And then what we do is we create what's called a C-suite report. So if Mike Witowski wants to see a synopsis of his sleep, we have a one-sheeter that we can look at. But the information that we gather comes from 16 different information pieces off of his Garmin dashboard. But he sees it as one report. Now, if Mike goes, hey, where'd you get that number from? I can show him if he's interested, but you guys know how these pros are.
Yeah.
They're too busy. They just want to know that they've got confidence that if you have a piece of paper, draw two circles and have them overlap ever so slightly in the middle. The circle on the left is undertraining. The circle on the right is overtraining. Mike doesn't want to be in either one of those. Mm-hmm. Mike wants to be in that overlap in the middle. That's what we call the sweet spot. And that sweet spot includes nutrition, hydration, flexibility. When we say fitness, that includes sprint speed, endurance, lactate tolerance, everything. Now, my responsibility is to make sure that, and you said it yourself, I need to make sure that the workouts are hard enough for adaptation, but I got to make sure that we don't tip into overtraining. And that not to be rhetorical here, what's the definition of overtraining? Doing more than you can absorb. And that's the sweet spot in the middle. So Mike is very patient with me. We look at what we call a calorie gap on a daily basis. You'd be surprised at some of these calorie burn rates, like in the GNCC, we're seeing calorie burn rates of 3,000, 3,500, 4,000 calories in 3 hours. Think about that.
That's insane.
If you recognize that an extra large egg is 75 calories, if you're looking, let's just keep it conservative. Let's say that you burn 3,000 calories in a 3-hour race, and you divide that by 75 calories, you would have to eat 40 extra large eggs to break even on the calorie expenditure. Put that in quantified, numbers for the listeners. And I encourage anybody who's got a Garmin, go and look at your calorie burn rate. When you go do a race, and then look at what are you taking in? How are you bridging that? Because the stomach can only digest 300 calories per hour. So think about it. If you're burning 1,000 an hour, and you're only able to consume 300, where does that gap of 700 come from? Stored fat. Mm-hmm. So you better teach yourself to go aerobically, because if you're aerobic, you're burning a percentage of fat and sugar. The higher the heart rate goes, the higher the percentage of sugar. Well, you've only got about 60 minutes of stored sugar in the body, but yet you're trying to bridge a 3-hour race. Math doesn't add up. Even in the snowflake math that we have today, it still doesn't add up. you know?
Yep. Yeah.
Pretty scary.
Yeah,
is.
for sure. And you know what? The GNCC community is filled with people that work full-time jobs. It's filled with people that have little to almost no time for training by the time they get their 40-plus hour work weekend, maintain their bikes, and not to
And
mention
do
the
a
travel
podcast.
time and do a podcast.
And
Yeah.
coach a little
Sure.
league team.
Coach a little league team.
Yep.
Exactly. So, but what I'm getting at is, you know, we hear a lot of people, friends of ours, friends of the shows, and ourselves included, will talk about things such as like, you know, well, I don't know if I did this workout correctly, or I don't know if I am doing enough, or am I doing too much, or I just need to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And what is great about your program is the fact that it kind of helps the individual take that guessing work out of it, and it helps them understand that each and every move I'm making is for a purpose. And whenever you have that security, like Mike Wadikowski has,
Mm-hmm.
When you have that security to know that you're doing the right thing to achieve what you specifically are trying to achieve, I think that would help you in the long run be able to make the right decisions.
You hit the nail on the head. And what's interesting is, think about it. Dave Youngless, he owns 2 companies, has a young family. He's exactly in the wheelhouse that you're talking about. Then I've got a Kate Nash, who's a young girl. I want to make sure that she has a long, prosperous career. If I look at Mike, I look at Kate, and I look at Dave. It's still the same thing. I mean, really stop and think about it. If you're trying to make sure that everything you do is the right intensity and the right duration. See, like when I put together a training schedule for an athlete, I look at how many hours a week are available, and then we break it down on what percentage is going to be aerobic and anaerobic, and we break down how much of that's going to be on the motorcycle and off the motorcycle. Now, if you've only got 3 hours a week because you run your own business, that's fine. We can work with 3 hours. Like you said, the big question is, if I've only got 3 hours, what should I do? We answer that question. The lion's share of our clients are exactly that. It's the working guy. It's the working lady. We're very fortunate. We work with the Kilmartin team out in California. It's the Works KTM Gas Husky factory team. Well, think about it. By midday, Colton Eck has already gotten to the track, ridden for 3 hours, maybe even tested some suspension, and is back home taking a nap. I talked to Dave Youngless at little afternoon. He's been in 3 Monday morning meetings. He's had a product development meeting, a meeting with his accountant, and maybe he squeezed in an hour before work. The bottom line is both people have the same desire.
Mm-hmm.
Is the time that I spent training moving me towards where I want to be? And that is to be durable, and you know, for the weekend warrior, they want to ride and have a good time. And we spend, I would say, a good 75% of our clientele is the weekend warriors.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always a catch-22, because you get a weekend warrior that goes, hey, who do you work with? Oh, I work with Charlie Mullins and Chris Bach and Witowski. I've worked with Dungy and AC and the Martin Brothers and Tickle. If that matters to you, that's cool. But then here's where I get kicked in the groin. People go, oh, so you only work with the pros? No, I'm just telling you, those are the people that we've had the privilege of working with. But the lion's share of our business is weekend warriors. It's the amateurs, because we understand, hey, where's that finite balance? I've only got, like you're saying, if you're doing a podcast and you're coaching and you're trying to ride and race and you're trying to keep your marriage intact and you're trying to, you know, lose some body weight and still have fun on the weekend. Yeah, I've had CEOs that would say, look, I've got 3 hours a week and it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I get to ride moto, you know, I get to get on my motorcycle or my quad once a month. Cool, we can work with that. But then that's where we get into what we call the non-sweating components of performance. Are you drinking enough water during the day without overdoing it? Because if you overdrink fluid, straight water, you literally dilute the electrolytes in your bloodstream, and that can be counterproductive. You know, how much food should I eat? When should I eat? What should I eat? Foam rolling. As you guys are sitting here doing the pod with me, I have a tennis ball under my right foot. I have a tennis ball under my left glute, sitting here talking to you on the phone. I want all your listeners, when they're at their desk, if, you know, even when you guys are driving in your truck, drop a tennis ball in between your shoulder blades and press back. If you're a passenger, kick your shoe off, be working on the bottom. What are the 2 contact points on the motorcycle or the quad?
Yeah.
Your hands and your feet. And you guys are big burly dudes. When's the last time you got a hand massage?
It's been a while.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah, exactly. And as soon as most people think about massage, they think, oh, okay, this is a cost benefit investment here, right? No. Because Kate, she's very, very busy with school. Mike just got up to Indiana. He's going up there visiting some family. Dave, he's been in meetings all day. Well, if I can keep him at his desk with a tennis ball under his foot and another tennis ball on his glute, well, and I know it sounds silly. Did you hear what I said? I have the tennis ball on my right foot and my left glute because I'm working on that left-right balance that we were talking about earlier. I know it sounds fluffy, but what are the things that people complain about on race day? Oh, man, my calves cramped, my feet cramped, my hands cramped, my arms cramped. Well, if I get you sitting there at your desk with a tennis ball under your feet and your glutes and your hamstring, that's 2 body parts. When you go home, you don't have to foam roll.
Yeah.
So it's therapy during the day. If you nailed your hydration, you snacked every couple hours on fruits and vegetables and lean protein. And that is what I want the listeners that have a full-time job, a family, they're like, goodness gracious, what can I do? There's tons of things that you can do without even having to be at the track. And that's why we call it the non-sweating components of performance. Everybody listening can control those variables. I want you to right now, drop your shoulders. Look how your shoulders are up by your ears. Just physically drop your shoulders. I want you to notice how your shoulders you're literally draped over your chest. Look how your shoulders are rolled forward. Mm-hmm. That's because your chest is overdeveloped from doing bench press and all the other stuff. And you said earlier, if I'm asking Mike, please get your elbows up. Well, you're sitting hunched over a desk. You're biomechanically teaching yourself to be anteriorly rotated. And then you have a riding coach saying, hey, keep your head up, keep your torso nice and tall, keep that belly button over the center of the bike. But you can't do it sitting at a desk. What makes you think you can do it when you're 4th gear tapped? That's what makes it difficult. But if I can get you to work on soft tissue because you're a busy businessman, husband, father, and I can get you to work on flexibility, nutrition, hydration, if I can teach you to breathe through your belly, now all of a sudden you're maximizing the oxygen in the blood. Now a weekend warrior can go have a blast on his motorcycle or quad because they can ride longer without getting exhausted because they're flexible, they're hydrated, they're breathing deeply. Maybe they go to bed a half hour early. By the end of the week, they've picked up 2.5 hours of extra sleep. Wow, they come to the race feeling fresh. Because I want the listeners to think about this. When you have a bad race weekend, is that truly a fitness issue or is that a preparation issue? We've all had those dreaded drives to the track where 2 flat tires on the trailer, the little guy throws up in the back seat with being car sick,
right.
And you show up at the race and you're like, am I really in a mindset to go, is this a fitness issue or is it just the wheels have fallen off the bus just trying to get to the race today?
Right.
That's all it is. But we tend to be hyper competitive and we're all men with big peacock feathers. Nobody's going to tell us that we dropped the ball on something.
Mm-hmm.
We'll throat punch somebody before we'll admit that.
Right. And when you're saying that and your last webinar you did on your Moto E membership was about being mentally, not just physically, being mentally ready, like when you line up against people, and it was pretty cool how you talked about that. Like if you went up if I walked up to Rodney and said, "Hey, are you gonna win today, or what position you're going to be in when you look down the line?" And I thought that was pretty cool how you did that.
Absolutely. Yep, you're exactly right. And that's what I love about human performance. We, in our staff meetings, we call it the evolution of performance. As you get leaner and you get stronger, and this is for a weekend warrior as well as an elite athlete, as you get leaner, a lot of people don't realize that when you put muscle on, muscle weighs more than fat. So you're really excited. You've been able to loosen up 2 to 3 belt loops, but you forgot that that 2 to 3 belt loop, maybe that put 8 pounds of muscle on you over the last year. Well, what does that do to your compression and your rebound? What does that do to your sag? What does that do to your bike setup? So you've gotten fitter, but you're still riding with settings when you were a completely different body composition.
Mm-hmm.
There's another big disjoint that happens. because you see it particularly in the motocross side of things in the 250 class. Most of the factory teams are telling the guys, hey, you've got to be super light or you won't get the whole shot. Everything's about the whole shot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you see such a brittle group of riders when they hit the ground. They're breaking like twigs,
Right.
because they're undernourished, they have fragile bones, they're extremely exhausted because they're overworked and they're underfed. And I'm sorry, there's a reason why the Star Yamaha guys don't have a 250 rider out there. Now, when you look at some of the mistakes that they're making, they're so fundamental. To me, that's a low blood sugar issue. So I need, just so the listeners understand, your liver is a gas tank that feeds your brain. That's where it stores sugar. That's where your brain gets its thinking and its sugar power, if you will. Your muscles store sugar, and that's obviously where your movement comes from. So as you begin to run out of energy, your eye-hand coordination gets slower and slower and slower. Now, this is not a big deal and I'm not trying to throw the motocross market under the mat here, but I've got kids that I have a young man that's here from Australia, and he went to an area a couple of weeks ago. They were at the racetrack for 9 hours, and he put 8 minutes on his hour meter. 8 minutes in 9 hours.
Wow, that's crazy.
Okay, so it's hard for me when a motocross racer complains that their eye-hand coordination was down when they only had to bridge 6 minutes. But what about you guys that raced for 3 hours?
Yeah.
You could start firing on all 8 cylinders. Well, how are you feeling at the 2.5 hour mark? You don't feel like the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You don't feel like the same girl. Well, that's because the stored blood sugar levels in the liver, in the muscles are depleted, and now you're relying on outside sources. So that's like, when you look at our sports drink that we created, Energy Fuel, we have 3 formulations, and the formulations change based on the intensity of your race and the duration. The science behind that has to match what you're trying to do. If you can't convert the sugar that you've consumed into energy, you're going to have slow reaction time. Well, no disrespect to Moto, but you guys are threading the needles sometimes, and I don't know how you get your darn bars through the trees, to be honest with you. I'm like, doggone, that just doesn't fit right there, much less coming in at 40 miles an hour. I'm like, golly, that's amazing.
Right.
But that's not the time to have low blood sugar, obviously. Not that there's ever a good time. I don't mind falling on a straightaway, but I don't want to kiss a tree.
Right.
Big difference.
Yes. And it seems like this year, Brandon, we've talked a lot about how there's been so many incidents this year where a lot of our top riders have gotten hurt this year. A lot of riders have gotten hurt this year. And that's what I think, what I really like about your program is you teach and you preach durability.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that is really needed, that is often overlooked in this sport, I believe. And, I would like to, we would want to see people be able to take hits and keep, you never want to hit the ground, but when you do, to be able to have a body that's limber and strong enough to take that hit and to be able to get back up and keep going.
And take that just one step further. There's a lot of people that are physically strong in the gym,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not strong in regards to functional movement of a motorcycle or a quad. And when you do hit the ground, again, for the sake of the listeners, I've been fired because people say, you don't push my athlete hard enough. And like I always tell them, when we get enough statistical data that validates that your athlete is ready and capable to do it, I'll be more than happy to administer it. And the way that we do that, it goes back to the beginning of our conversation. Once I look at your testing data and then I look at your sleep data, think about it. I test you on the front side. I evaluate your body's ability to recover. What makes up recovery? Food, sleep, water. So if you're screwing up your nutrition drives the quality of sleep. Well, if you screw up your nutrition, your sleep's going to sacrifice. Well, wait a second. I thought sleep and food is the foundation for recovery. Mm-hmm. Oh, but you've got those two in disarray, and yet you're telling me I need to smash your athlete because you've got a race in 2 weeks and he needs to be faster. Well, wait a second. Your son is only 13 years old, and you're telling me you need him. And I get this all the time. You don't understand. We got to win. I understand, but isn't he your son first? I didn't realize he was just a droid. And people don't like to hear me say that, but I'm very blessed. I have 2 sons and I have a daughter. I will always treat you, regardless of your age, I will always treat you like my son or daughter. Because I sleep really good at night knowing, and I say this very, very humbly, I have never had an athlete that I've ever worked with that's been diagnosed with Epstein-Barr or chronic fatigue. Now, I have been fired, and then they went on to become that because I wouldn't give them what they wanted to hear, and I didn't give them what they wanted to hear because the quantified information never proved that they were doing enough food and sleeping to be able to take on that extra level of maybe it's 1 extra speed work, maybe it's 1 extra hour on the motorcycle. And you guys have been around the sport long enough. Talk to anybody who's been hurt. What do 95% of them say? I got hurt on that last session when I said, I'm just going to moto one more session.
Yeah.
When did they get hurt? And this is very frustrating for me because I've got athletes, and not just in the motorsports world, I've got athletes that make $30, $40 million a year. So now if you look at our sport where, I mean, some of my athletes have $30 million contracts, whether they perform or they don't perform. They've got big contracts. Our sport is what? Based on results.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm supposed to push you to that finite line, and then you grenade yourself, and then you lose the chance of 30, 40, 50. Look at Supercross, $150,000 a night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
10 rounds, 1.5 million, 1.1 to 1.5 million dollars. I can look you in the eyes and say, suck it up, Buttercup. I'm sorry I cost you 1.5 million because I thought we could push that one more moto.
Yeah.
But yet if you tell them, hey, look, err on the side of caution. Let's live for another day. Oh, what do you think I am, a pansy? No, I just thought maybe you might want to be eligible for that $150,000 bonus on Saturday night.
Right. Yeah.
Because, a lot of these contracts are, if you don't finish 50% of the races, you lose half of your salary or even all of it.
Yeah.
Right. And there's far too many guys doing that.
Well, and think about how pathetic it is.
Yeah.
Because you have race teams that just want to be able to appease the sponsors using these individuals as pawns. And then and we have this saying in the physiology world, the second injury is always worse because you didn't recover from the first injury.
Right. Right.
And now what do we've got? We have zero representation. And now we have a skeleton in, GNCC is no different than what's going on in motocross. The attrition rate is at an all-time high.
Right.
All-time high. So that's where I don't want anybody to think I'm on a soapbox. I want to see the sport grow. How do I do it? Build durable athletes. Now, if it's a little bit slower, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't always make me popular, but which I find somewhat humorous because I have a demented sense of humor. If you're not in it, the eligibility of earning the money and the bonuses is not there 100%. But if I can get you to come into every race weekend fresh, I have at least a statistical 100% chance that you could win it.
Mm-hmm.
There's the difference. Now we get into strategy. Every single round that we've done so far with Mike this year, we've had a completely different strategy per round. All 5 rounds have been completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as kind of like my last webinar, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, kind of taking a line from Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Yep.
When Mike was, whether you want to say he hit a vine, we've had a lot of discussions on what that was, where he just got surprised and the bike went left, right, and he hit the ground and had that dead leg for, seemed like forever. Now what's your plan? Was that a strategic error? No, that was called the bike caught a vine, and next thing he knows, he's going sideways, and then he's over laying in the corner,
Yeah.
Can you ever plan for that? No. But what I can promise you is we were forever grateful after looking at the hematoma afterwards. We were very thankful that he didn't break his femur.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It was that severe. And like I told Mike, I can only encourage you to do the work, but you're doing the contrast therapy, the foam rolling, you're doing the weight training. That's a lot. It's very unorthodox. We don't go in and do a lot. Like, I'm not a big fan of exercises that I know could hurt somebody. And I get this pushback all the time from, again, I'm going to go back air quotes here, the so-called experts in our sport.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, you have got to be able to do a deadlift, a clean and snatch, and you got to be able to squat. I'm like, I'm like, that dude doesn't have the flexibility to tie his shoelaces. And you're going to put 245s on either side of the bar and you're going to have him squat it to 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Now, do I understand that a deadlift, it engages all the muscles on the posterior side of the body? Do I understand it? Oh, sure I do. Is it in my textbooks in my library here in my office? Oh yeah, all over the place. But you don't have the functional flexibility to tie your shoes. Now I'm going to put weight on your shoulders, and I want the listeners to think about this. Watch somebody squat from the side. What is the very first thing they do when they start to go down? They push their behind directly behind them.
Yep.
Now I have weight on their shoulder blades, and where's the discs going to go in between the spine? It's going to get pushed right out the back. And you get, especially at a facility where you get a lot of people that want to try to edge each other on. And I'm like, okay, what about if I have you take a set of dumbbells and I have you take a football against a wall, you keep your head over your spine over your pelvis, and you just do some squats down to 90 degrees, hold it for 3 seconds and come back up. It's working the exact same muscle groups, but I have zero risk of you bulging or herniating a disc.
Right.
Come on, Coach Robb. That's not sexy.
You took the words right out of my mouth. It's as if it was teed up. And that's exactly what it is. Because it's safe and it's not egotistically driven and it's not everybody dropping a ton of weight and grunting like a bunch of barbarians. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, that doesn't work. I'm like, explain to me how it doesn't work. Well, the difference is they want to be able to say that they squatted 230 on the squat rack instead of saying they squatted with 2 40-pound dumbbells in their hands.
It doesn't look as good on Instagram when you take the video of yourself.
Absolutely correct. But then we come back full circle. We have athletes that are out injured because they have low back injuries. They're on a calorically restricted diet. So now they're fragile. They're being told not to eat fruits and vegetables because it has sugar in it. Well, where are you going to get your electrolytes from? If you don't eat fruits and vegetables, where are you getting your electrolytes from? If you're not eating fruits and vegetables, where are you getting vitamins and minerals from? What are the catalysts for energy? Vitamins and minerals. So anybody that's promoting don't eat fruits and vegetables so you can put your body into a state of ketosis, again, in a textbook environment, that's great. But there's no, I find it a little bit embarrassing when these people sell these keto programs and then they want you to take this supplement for an electrolyte and this for vitamins and minerals. And I'm like, that's not the way food was intended. That's not the way your body was created to function.
No.
Well, could we survive? Oh yeah. Keto's proven that. It does not mean that. I did a whole podcast on the difference between thriving and surviving.
Right.
The body's amazing. It will adapt to survive. But when you're trying to be healthy, that's a non-sustainable program.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it seems like right now the fad in Supercross at least is like going to that plant-based diet and cutting all the meat and stuff out. What do you think about that?
It's complete hogwash. It's complete hogwash. I've never met anybody who said that they didn't feel better by eating more and more fruits and vegetables, and let's put air quotes on it again, on a plant-based program. But my question is, that's great, but where are you going to get your amino acids? And people, especially some of the strict vegetarians, vegans, they'll go, well, you need to be able to mix this and this and get a complete protein. Well, here's the problem that I have. Let's keep it in the real world, especially for the sake of our listeners. Mm-hmm. I can't get people to step on the scale twice a day, in the morning and the evening, to get their body weight. And you want me to teach them how to combine proteins, like in the form of legumes, beans, sprouts? I'm sorry. I get what you're trying to tell me. Anybody that goes plant-based is going to feel better, but you cannot. And I would be more than happy to sit and have a Zoom conference and you guys could record it. I want to see somebody that promotes the strict vegetarian, vegan, plant-based diet. Explain to me how the average individual is going to get enough amino acids, not even an elite athlete, just a basic everyday person that has a balance of family and job and writing. How are they supposed to get enough volume? I can't get people, and this goes back to what we said earlier, the beautiful part about these Garmin platforms, it will show you what your calorie expenditure is. And yet I still struggle to get enough food in my athletes because fruits and vegetables, they're nutrient dense, but they're not calorically dense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can sit and tell me that a piece of meat may have some hormones from the way that it was raised or whatever. And I get it. I wish it wasn't there, but I live in Orlando. I don't have enough farm space for me to raise a cow so that I can make sure that he gets no hormones in his system. All right. So you're exactly right. There are bovine hormones. There are other things. I don't know what to tell you. What I can tell you is if I have a nice piece of filet mignon, I know I'm going to get the right amino acids by eating an animal product versus not eating an animal product. Now, some people are vegan because of ethical. I respect it. Some people say that for my health, I respect that. But what you're not going to be able to win an argument with is the bioavailability of a piece of lean protein coming from an animal. It's much higher concentration rate. I hate to say this, but it's more readily available. I only need to eat a smaller piece of a fillet to get plenty of amino acids, and I have to eat a Jethro-sized bowl of sprouts and legumes and beans and all to get enough, complete proteins. Because isn't our goal here to make sure that we get the right amount of everything to stay healthy? Well, you're not going to get that on a strict vegetarian. That's why you don't see people staying on it, because they're hungry all the time.
Right.
Yeah. And Brandon, you hit the nail on the head when you called it a fad, because it's this sport, and it's from the top to the bottom. Is if the guy winning is doing it, then we must do it.
We all must,
follow. And I'm pretty sure that Dylan Ferrandez is plant-based, and he won the outdoors. So of course that's the fad that goes on now. Eli Tomac is a father of two, so people might be popping out babies here pretty soon.
Hey, anything to give us a reason for that, and we are in.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head, and I don't want to sound like it's a soapbox comment, but it's true. Just follow the money. It doesn't take very long when someone makes a declaration that they're plant-based, and then you look at who they are, quote unquote, in business partnerships with, and then you follow it a little bit deeper. Eventually you find where the money is coming from. And it usually that's and I, again, not trying to sound cynical or jaded in any way, just follow the money.
Right.
And, when you really, I'll give you guys an example in another sport. I qualified for the junior development program for the sport of triathlon as a developing athlete at the Olympic Training Center. There was another guy here in Orlando that I trained with. And he got on the cover of Triathlete magazine. He was sponsored by Reebok. He was sponsored by Kestrel bicycles. He led the swim at Ironman every year that he raced it. Well, I read the article, and he's talking about what he does during the week. I train with this guy literally 95% of the workouts we work out together. And I said, Alec, you don't do 10% of what you said you did in this magazine. He goes, I know. And I just want the listeners to really think about that.
Yeah.
If, like, for example, he was sponsored by Reebok running shoes, and he rode Kestrel bikes and Power Bar and Oakleys and all that. He didn't even eat Power Bars. But when they asked him what he ate during the day, he said he had a Power Bar before every workout. Yeah. He didn't eat Power Bars.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's one of those situations when someone says they're plant-based, follow the money.
Yeah.
When somebody says that they're sponsored by CBD, follow the money. Right. Are they really? I don't know. They could be. Because I want to make sure that people understand we're not picking on just the plant-based. It could be CBD or anything else for that matter.
Yeah. I mean, look at the whole industry. This whole industry has been sponsored by energy drinks, and that I feel like at this point in time in 2022, everybody realizes that they're not drinking Red Bull on the podium. They're not drinking Monster on the podium. They're drinking water out of those cans. But it's the same thing.
That's exactly it. There was a picture this week that was circulating of Jet. He was pouring water over his head, and it was coming out of a Red Bull can.
Yeah.
And somebody sent it to me and said, how long until Red Bull pulls this down? And it goes back to when James Stewart was on the podium. And remember, he had the Red Bull, and when he acted like he was drinking it, at the bottom of it, somebody with a black marker put H2O on it. I mean, just little things like that.
Yeah.
It's, but you're right. I'm going to show my age here. I'm 54 years old. And if you go back, I'm going to show my age in regards to the weight loss industry. Remember Stop the Insanity? The lady that shaved her head, she wrote this small book called Stop the Insanity. If you look at nutrition, you have South Beach, you have Atkins,
Mm-hmm.
you have Zone. If you look at weightlifting, you have super slow, you have super set, you have, now you have HIIT training. Now, I know I sound old school here, but I'm still using the physiological principles that were taught at the Olympic Training Center. And as they always used to say to us, we're only here to learn how to make an athlete as fast as humanly possible, doing it legally.
Mm-hmm.
So if Gatorade was sponsoring an athlete, they didn't care about Gatorade. What they wanted to know was, does that product provide the necessary amount of electrolytes and enough carbohydrates that are bioavailable? If so, use the product. If not, they would make us use something else. Because they didn't care if I was sponsored by a company. What they cared about is, I'm on their dime, being trained and tested. They want to make sure that I'm not going to fall apart during a workout because I ran out of energy because I'm eating something that's too light in the calorie density mode. So now I can't even finish the workout that they have 3 physiologists overseeing the workout. I hope the listeners, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't make me popular, but I will tell you the truth on what works and what doesn't.
No, I personally, I really like the fact of knowing, like having the confidence in doing what you're doing. If you can have the confidence in doing that, you're more likely to stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you get into, and I fell into this category a lot in my life, where like I'll go and I'll pick up dumbbells and like, what are you doing? Like, well, I don't know. I'm trying to do something. So, or you go out or you go on a cycle and it's like, well, how long ago? It's like, I don't know. We'll see. It's just whenever you know what you're supposed to be doing, I feel like it makes it that much easier to stay consistent.
Yep, for sure.
And take it one step further. And when you understand why you're doing it, having structure, somebody saying, all right, do this. Okay, great. Can somebody please explain to me why? I say to my clients every single day, when you go into let's say you head to the track to ride, I put together motocross, I put together specific protocols on the motorcycle or on the quad, and that one workout fits into the 7-day window, and that week fits into a 6 or an 8-week cycle. But every workout has to fit into the 7-day microcycle. If you don't understand why you're doing it, you shouldn't do it.
Right.
And it's that why. Now, again, they don't have to. I go back to, if you want to know how many degrees I've got, that's awesome. I'll be happy to share it. All you got to do is go to my website and you can find it. The bottom line is, I want you to understand, you don't have to have a master's degree in exercise physiology to understand the importance of a warm up or a cool down. Let me explain it to you at a 10,000 foot view. And then I always say it this way. Let me explain the concept before you experience it. So when you experience it, my concept conversation resonates with you because you just experienced it. And now we're back to the confidence conversation. Because I have to earn your respect by getting results.
Right.
I can sit here and share the ideology and the physiology all day. You have to feel it. You have to see it. And you go, oh, okay, that makes sense because I felt it. And like you said, now I don't have to try to convince you. You'll go to the track. You don't mind looking like the one guy that looks like a goofball by standing behind your bike doing jumping jacks because you know you don't want to start the race at a heart rate of 80 and in 1 minute be at 180.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you realize, ouch, that's going to hurt really bad when that lactic acid dumps in.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to go backwards until the lactic acid kind of levels. And then I can get back to racing again. Well, now I've lost contact and you're like, doggone it. If I just warmed up and tricked my body into thinking I'd already been out there for 20 minutes, guess what? I would have been able to settle into that pace from the very beginning, maintained it for 2.5 hours, and actually picked up the pace the last 30 minutes. That's a strategy. That's one of many strategies that are out there.
Right. When
Negative split.
When we were racing, we used to go, we used to travel a lot when we were younger. And I used to be like, man, that guy's out riding his mountain bike, like riding the mountain bike up and around the track and all this. Like I'd be wore out before I even got on the line. And, now I'm a lot smarter and understand all that now. But, I'm sure a lot of guys look at each like, I'm not doing that. Like I only got so much energy for this race and I ain't going to spend that energy when warming up.
Yep. when we were when I had AC, I had him for his the majority of his 85 career, and when we were at Loretta's, the way that the schedule fell, there was one day during the week where we didn't have any motos whatsoever. So we got up in the morning, we had the rower was right outside the motorhome. What I always do is I would have him do a 30 to 45 minute row session, and then we would immediately sit down to breakfast. Well, all of a sudden he's out there rowing and all the cameras show up. And so the big push was, oh, look at Robb's got AC working out on the one day during the week. I said, no, I didn't tell them that, but I'm sharing it with your listeners. There's an enzyme called a glycogen synthase enzyme. And all it is when your muscles get warmed up and activated, there's an enzyme that helps you absorb sugars more efficiently. It's called a glycogen sugar synthase enzyme. So the whole goal was get the muscle tissue activated and then immediately sit down to a meal. And then right before dinner, AC pops out, gets on the rower, rows for 30, 45 minutes, and we immediately sit down to dinner. Well, the idea here was we're just utilizing and just using principles of physiology. Well, just like when I did the Ryan Dungey CBS special, they took me asking him, did he eat ice cream before bed? They totally took it out of context and made me out to be the coach that advocates ice cream. Well, when AC was working out on the day that he didn't have any races, then I was having AC work out in the middle of the week. That just shows you how our sport is completely clueless.
Right.
Yeah.
But yet you go to the Tour de France and they'll sit and spin on a trainer for 2 hours for a 10-mile time trial.
Yeah. Yeah.
But nobody questions that.
No.
Right.
Because the sport gets it.
Yeah.
You know? And that's what I want to bring to our sport is I want the weekend warrior to understand the value of a warm-up, to understand the value of working out very, very easily and then sitting down to a meal, especially on a race taper, whatever that it may be. You know, we've even shared it with your listeners here tonight, is just trying to get a bigger picture of the why behind it. And then if you have questions, ask, you know. And I say this all the time because I had a person, I had him for his entire amateur career. He signed with a pro supercross team, and the supercross team had their own trainer. And the athlete, in fact, it falls right in line with what we were saying earlier. My athlete was being asked to do some strength exercises in the gym that I'm vehemently against because of what we've spoken about earlier, to avoid injury. And my athlete said to the trainer, he goes, why are we doing this? And he wasn't trying to be belligerent, and he looked at him and he stuck his finger in his face and he goes, you don't ever question what I tell you to do. He said, okay, you know, he's new to the team. He's like, oops, I guess I shouldn't have said that. The next day, the team owner pulls him aside. He says, you ever question my trainer? And you're done.
Wow.
All he was wanting to know was, why are we doing a certain exercise? Because I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. It's more about this athlete understands when you're doing a squat, a clean and jerk, a snatch, the potential of low back injury is quite high because in our sport, we tend to be we lack in the flexibility category.
Mm-hmm.
Certain exercises are not conducive and they're actually counterproductive if you don't have the flexibility necessary to do the range of motion. That's all he was questioning. Now, if that trainer didn't get his, panties in a wad, if that guy had said to him, hey, look, I feel like you've got good enough functional movement that you can do that exercise, my athlete would have been like, cool, this guy knows what he's talking about. That's all he was looking for, is a legitimate explanation. And then you just said it earlier, Rodney, understand why you're doing it before you do it. That's all. That's all, but heaven forbid you take an ex-pro and you ask them a question. Well, now you're being belligerent. You're not being very respectful. And I'm like, no, don't even start the exercise unless you know why you're doing it. Otherwise, I have failed you as a physiologist.
Right.
And that goes for every weekend warrior that we have as a client. It goes for every youth athlete that we have. I work for the rider and their parents. Whether they're on a factory team or not, I work for the rider and the parents. And those parents are owed the right to know why the rider is or isn't doing something.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean the parents can agree with me and they may fire me, and that's okay. And I don't say that arrogantly. It's like, I just know that I can sleep at night knowing I haven't roached somebody's child.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
that's just completely irresponsible.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's safe to be on that side of the spectrum than the other
other
side.
side.
And you roach somebody, and then the parents are mad about that as well. Brandon, so Coach Robb, we had a lot of people end up sending us messages asking questions. We're going to try to get to a few. Yeah, we're going to try to get to a few of them before we we're not going to be able to get to all of them because we had I was surprised. I mean, there was a lot of people that asked questions.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. So Brandon, what's the first question we have?
The first one we have is, this one is actually a good listener of ours, is Doug Kurt. He says, I already follow as much of your GNCC program as I can. I decided it was a smart idea to sign up for the Best in the Desert Battle 200-mile race in September. What else should I be adding to my workout and diet, or should I just stay on my normal routine? I am 30-plus ATV racer.
Boy, that's a great question that has a lot of meat on the bone. I apologize for the strict vegans.
I don't think there's too many of them listening.
We'll take that and run with that.
Yeah.
The big thing I would want to look at is how long does the athlete think it's going to take to finish that 200 miler, and then reverse engineer how much time you have between now and the race. So for example, like with our professional runners, we don't run a marathon every weekend to see if we are in shape to run a marathon. We do different kind of field testing, and that's what I would encourage him to do. Take that 200 miles, look at the reality. What would be worst case scenario? What would be best case scenario? And then reverse engineer. Now, it's very hard for me to say without having a little more info. When we look at a 5K runner or we look at a 10K runner, we have a couple formulas. Maybe they're going to run on a weekly basis. Just for people who don't have a running background, a 10K is going to be a 6.2 mile run. If we have somebody that's a 10K specialist, we might run 5. We use a multiplier of 5, maybe 6, meaning they're going to run between 40 and maybe 60 miles a week to be ready to race that 10K. Now, you can't use that same type of a multiplier in this type, because you have to take into consideration the weight of the quad, the duration, what they're riding. Is it super rough, or is it just high speed, desert wide open, kind of like Dakar or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I don't feel like I've answered the question because there's a lot of information, but what I would like to do is have him DM me, or if you guys can just send me his contact info, and I'll get on the phone with him and have a more in-depth convo. Or I just throw it out there if it's good for you guys. I don't know if you allow people to come on the air, and let's do a banter and let's answer those questions where maybe a listener some of the information may resonate with him or her. I don't know if that's an option or not, but I want to make sure I answer his question.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. We don't have the technology to do it right now, but that would be fun to do for sure.
Yeah, but we can definitely get his info over to you.
Yeah, he's listening. He's one of our most loyal listeners. He's listening right now, so I'm sure he will be right on it with responding to you.
If he's listening live, and this is for anybody else as well, if you guys have questions, feel free to contact me. My direct email is Robb, R-O-B as in boy, B as in boy, Robb at Coach Robb, spelt the same way, COACHROBB.com. If you have a question like in this one right here, just email me. That way I can email you back directly. We won't harvest your email or sell it to anybody. I just want to make sure I can answer your questions, because then I can get a banter going, gather a little bit more info. Yeah. And I want to make sure that he gets exactly what he needs to go out and stamp that race and have a great time.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Our next question comes in from Instagram. A guy wants to know pre-workout before a race. What is your opinion on that?
Say the question again. Is it pre-workout or pre-race?
Pre-workout.
Before a race.
Before a race.
Should you take some?
Well, the answer, that's why I was trying to differentiate.
Yeah.
If it's a workout, I would say, like during the week in the gym or a ride session, I would say no, because what happens is you lose what we call the ergogenic benefit. Caffeine, creatine, all of those are ergogenic benefits. But just like caffeine, if you drink 6 cups of coffee every day on race day, you're not going to get that mental focus that you can get out of caffeine because your body's desensitized to it.
Mm-hmm.
So during the week, I would say just, run what you brung, eat good fruits and vegetables, be hydrated, be mentally focused and ready to do the work that's necessary. The work that needs to be done is your identified weaknesses on race weekend. Keep that in mind. The day of a race, you can do something like, we have a product called Energy Fuel Boost, which has a little bit of caffeine in it for mental focus. But we also have a lactic acid buffer in it because we know that you're using it for something less than an hour. It's pretty high intensity. On race day, I think you could get away with doing stuff like that. But then I guess the question would need to be, what is it that you're talking about taking on race day? Is it a drink that's supposedly going to get you amped up with a boatload of caffeine? Do you think that's what he's referencing?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
Just hopefully it doesn't have any pump in it.
Yeah. If you're taking, again, we go back to someone who maybe only drinks a little or no caffeine at all, and then you take that on a race day and let's say it's got, 3 cup serving of caffeine, just remember that can cause raging diarrhea. Because and what happens is your sphincter will literally open up, and even though you think you can keep, and I know this is not the funnest thing to speak about, but it's just
this is not where I thought this question would go, but yeah.
Yeah. If somebody doesn't drink a lot of caffeine and they're trying to get that metabolic lift that you can get from caffeine, you got to remember some people have a negative reaction to caffeine, and it literally vasodilates the sphincter, and then you're blowout Bob. And so that's not a good place. Let's go to something that's not as disturbing to speak about visually. Think about creatine. If you're taking creatine, specifically creatine monohydrate, you have 2 schools. You have people that, yes, it will increase the contractile strength of the tissue, but you also have people that get dried out like a prune.
Yeah.
So if you haven't tried that in training, you darn sure don't want to ruck up to the race and try it because your buddy's doing it. And on that same note, those RTDs, the ready to drinks, when they say they have creatine in that pre-workout, it's complete garbage. Because creatine monohydrate, if you buy it at pharmaceutical grade, it's very, very, very expensive. So there's no way a $5 RTD at the gym is going to have creatine that's of any value, to be honest with you.
Right.
You're just paying for a very expensive urination session is all you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to give me $5 and I'll give you a sports drink that allows you to urinate the same amount, I'll give it to you all day long.
That's awesome.
All right. Our next question, and this is a pretty interesting one that I'm excited to hear your opinion on. It comes from Instagram as well. Why is there only ever a couple of guys winning when so many work hard and have the equivalent equipment and experience?
At a pro level or amateur level?
I would assume that they're talking about at a pro level. Because, like right now we're looking at a season where Ben Kelly may go undefeated. Last year we were looking at a season where it was Ben Kelly versus Stu Baylor. And it seems like there always is a select few that are always winning. You see the same thing in motocross and supercross. And what is your opinion on that?
Well, if it's the loaded question that I think, and I don't know who this person is, obviously I haven't seen it, so I don't want to falsely accuse anybody. A lot of people want to get into this subject of, is there performance enhancing drugs in the sport?
Mm-hmm. My
thing is, it's like the Tour de France. If there is performance enhancing drugs, everybody's using them. The top 10 guys, I'm talking about the Tour de France.
Yes.
It's one of those, like when you look at when Lance was pulled down and then, I think they went 31 or 32 people after they took Lance's crown away. They looked at how many people either admitted or tested positive at some time. They went down some ridiculous number, like 35, 36. It was a big number.
Huh.
That requires a much, we can do an entire show just around like, how would you, like, for example, when you look at somebody that has abnormal improvements from a junior to a pro, if you look at somebody like in the Tour de France that as a junior was a nobody and their dad or mom had some money and they got on a big elite team and all of a sudden now they're breaking time trial results, you've got to have the historical pedigree to justify that professional domination. Ken Roczen didn't come to the States and just all of a sudden start doing well.
Yeah. Right.
He was a junior world champion. You've always got to look at the pedigree of somebody 5, 6, 8 years before they get into their prime. If it all of a sudden just comes out of nowhere, smells like a rat, looks like a rat, it's probably a rat.
Right.
Now, if you're looking at, like you say, you get it narrowed down where you get into a two-man pony show, I think that's where we go back to what you guys were both saying, and that is when you're confident in what you know you're doing is working, there's what we call an athletic poise, a disposition. That athlete rucks up to the starting grid, and you can just see that disposition about themselves. Tomac at the end of last year with Cowie, not feeling it so much.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Yamaha, you could walk up and punch him straight in the chest and it'd probably break your hand.
Yeah.
He's so confident right now. We saw that with Ferrandis Outdoors. There was a disposition change. You saw that with Webb last year when he's systematically wore Ken Roxon down and won the championship.
Mm-hmm.
You look at videos of Cooper Webb at round 1 and 2 when he was struggling with bike setup and Ken Roxon was cleaning the field. Then you saw that there was a paradigm shift and all of a sudden Roxon was kind of looking down at the ground and Webb was looking kind of at the sky. Momentum, as you know, Lance Armstrong likes to say, momentum has changed zip codes. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you notice one or two guys, especially when we get mid-season, they're very confident in their routine. They're very confident in what they're going to eat and drink on race day. They've really worked out the kinks on the motorcycle. So triple clamps are to the T, rebound, chassis, everything is dialed. And you know how it is. You talk to these top guys like Stu, when that bike is just settling in right, you do very few changes to it week to week.
Mm-hmm.
You might make some changes to conditions, but you're not making significant changes. And I think that's the big difference.
Yeah. And so often, I feel like this sport, along with a lot of other sports, it comes down to once you reach the tip of the spear as far as your physical condition and the equipment that you're on, it comes down to a lot of the mental side of it. And like you said, once you get that momentum train rolling and the momentum changes zip codes, then it seems like it snowball effects quite, really well for these guys.
100%. I wrote a sports psychology book on this subject, and it was something that we talk about in the psychology world quite a bit. Whether you think you can or you can't, either way, you're correct.
Yeah.
Now stop and think about that. Whether you think you can or you can't, either way, you're correct. And unfortunately, there can only be one winner on race day. Now, what I find is interesting is when you have somebody like a Tomac that, has 4 or 5 rounds. We saw it even this past weekend. You have somebody that gets on a roll. A real sign of a champion is the one that can take that third place, pull his tent down and move on. And it doesn't mess with his confidence. That's what's very difficult. And this is what's kind of the bane of my existence with amateur dads and particularly moto dads is if the rider has one bad race, they want to gut the whole program.
Yeah.
Got to start all over.
Yeah.
You look at those top pros, they're like, hey, look, tonight the bike just didn't do what we wanted in the whoops. Maybe it was dirt type. Look at last weekend in Supercross. We had clay, we had dirt, we had sand, we had everything. Well, maybe your tire selection really caused you to be sketchy in the sand section and you got passed twice there and finished third. Is that a fitness issue? Is that a program issue? No, it was just a gamble.
Right.
But now you get the moto dads from hell that want to fire everybody and everything and start over.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time.
Oh yeah.
But I think it's, like you said, I think it's that momentum and the confidence in the program. And I think, you look at Ben Kelly, he jumped up to that KTM, obviously on a good platform with, there's a tremendous amount of history there with Caleb. I don't think they had to do a whole lot of adjustments. And you get somebody who's fit and very intelligent like Ben, look what you get.
Yeah, exactly. And full of confidence. And then speaking of that confidence, it's a really good segue into our last question that we're gonna ask you tonight. And it comes from another listener on Instagram. How can somebody train for and cope with high pressure situations? So that's more along the lines of your mental state. And is there a way to train for that, or is that something that comes? You like look at a Cooper Webb or somebody like that you see somebody that with that tenacity, I guess you would say, is that something that you can actually train for, or is that something that is God-given and natural? Yeah,
I would say it's a combination of both. I mean, I think a little bit, Ricky Carmichael and I, we have a little bit of a disagreement on this, because you'll hear him on the broadcast and he'll say champions are born. I disagree. Because if you look at the guys that are the most naturally talented, they tend to be the laziest and they tend to fall away quicker than anybody. So that's why when I make that comment, I don't want somebody to think I'm being combative. It's just most of the true champions came from next to nothing. And none of them really are going to come out and say, oh, that guy had the greatest amount of talent. He had the right combination of work ethic, maybe started from nothing. I mean, look at the Lawrence brothers. I mean, their parents sold everything. And if you listen to that Whiskey Throttle show with David, what the boys say, their dad looked at him and said, we don't have another choice. We have nothing to go home to.
Yeah.
We sold everything. We have to make it. It's not an option. Now, going back to your original question, is that pressure or is that expectation? Because that's the thing that I always challenge my athletes with. Someone says, oh, I cracked under pressure. There is no such thing as pressure. And they go, well, what do you mean? I go, well, then why do you work out 15 hours a week? Well, I thought you were putting those hours in because you wanted to win. So your behavior is in alignment with what you told me you wanted to do. That's called championship habits. I don't need to get a young rider to remember to brush his teeth. If you want to be a champion, you brush your teeth. If you're a young athlete, you don't need to be cattle prodded to put your stupid phone down and go to sleep. That's not what a champion does. When somebody says to me they cracked under the pressure, what is pressure? I thought you were just rising to the expectations that you put upon yourself. And you showed that to me by putting in the sweat equity during the week. The reason why I put it in that context is it's all about perception. It's all about perception. Cooper Webb doesn't feel like he has pressure. If you think about like when he was first hired by Star Yamaha, why did he ride for Star Yamaha? Because nobody else gave him an opportunity. So did he see that as pressure? No, he wanted to prove everybody that they'd made the wrong decision by not hiring him. Do you see how that takes a paradigm shift?
Yeah.
He still wanted to win. He didn't see it as pressure. He saw it as an opportunity to validate his point. Other people look at it and go, that's pressure. No. If your behavior, if you're going to make the commitment, investing in bikes, driving to the track, willing to invest in yourself with good food, doing the right things, when you ruck up on race day, it's just simply, and I say this to all my athletes, race day is not about thinking. It's about executing the plan. Because when you think, you're using the left brain. It's a way slower reaction time than the creative side of the brain, which is the right side. That's why it sounds fluffy. But when I say visualize how you're going to win the race, whether you get a first place start or a 15th place start, you still, I always use the analogy when they went after Osama bin Laden, they didn't land those 3 helicopters and go, hey, dude, what do you want to do? And when that helicopter went down, they didn't stop and talk about it. They went in, they got the black box, they disengaged what they needed to, still got the plan executed and got the heck out of there. And I say to my athletes, you've got to go into that starting gate as if you're landing that helicopter to go to get Osama bin Laden. They knew where they were going, who was going, and what needed. No, but there was no time for thinking. And as we say in the military world, you think, you get killed. And that's what I say on race day is if you think, you're going to go backwards. It's about executing the plan. Now, because this is what brings it segue back to what you're saying. Can it be taught? 100%. You know, if you've never been taught German and you land up in Germany, you can't be expected to be able to read the signs and order from the menu and be able to communicate only because you haven't been taught that.
Yeah.
And that's where I think in our sport, there's this bravado that I get good on skills and drills and I have very good equipment. And somehow that combination is supposed to make me a mental monster. No. Let me give you just 2 quick examples. If I take a young rider, he's on the 250 class, and I say, look, I'm going to take you down to the 65 class. You think you could win? Oh, yeah, I could do it. Very, very confident. Okay. Tomorrow, I want you to get geared up next to Mike Witowski and same bike. I want you to go, oh, no, I can't do that. But wait, I thought confidence was there. How did it just evaporate? All I did was change the scenario.
Right.
And then the other side of it, to show you how powerful the brain is, don't think about a pink cow with black spots. Don't think about a pink cow with black spots. So if I want to really get inside your head and I want to manifest a first turn, all I say to you, an accident in the first turn, all I say to you is, hey, Brandon, hey, Rodney, don't go down in the first turn. Okay. Whatever you do, don't go down in the first turn. What's the only thing you're thinking about?
Going down in the first turn.
And then what happens when you manifest, you go down? What do you do now?
Then you
The
panic.
fear,
Yeah.
well, no, the fear of it happening has now been manifested.
Mhm.
It goes from worrying and now you're pissed off. What do? Now you ride to your fullest potential because your fear of falling has now been manifested.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, the real you comes out.
Yeah.
So that's why I always tease in my staff meetings, if I could bottle that, I would be a millionaire.
Right.
If I could bottle that, okay. And this is why you see people like Adam C's dad. He would let the entire gate go, and then he would release AC and let him go run everybody down because
Yeah.
he wanted him to learn how to go through the pack.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a plague of Michael Lessie. Michael Lessie only learned how to win by being at front, and he was a good starter, so he could get away with that strategy.
Yeah.
Then he goes pro. He starts 6th. He finishes 5th. AC can start 15th and get to 1st. Why? Tomac learned to get through the field. AC learned to get through the field. Villapoto learned to get through the field. That's why you see multi-time champions.
Right. Right.
But we don't look at that model. Somehow we think that we're immune to the same principles, which is kind of silly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
That's the biggest challenge that you run into is we've got to learn how to train ourselves to think. And this is really it's a very important component for all of us, whether you have young children or not. We put ourselves on this level of expectations without the skill set to do what we want. And then we get disappointed with the results. And then we keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result.
Right.
And that's where that's why I like to, not to sound awkward here, but that's why my program is called the Complete Racing Solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Because we do nutrition and we do strength and we do flexibility and we do mental development, and then we're back to strength and then flexibility, because one without the other, you could have an 80 horsepower 450. If you don't put fuel in it, my PW50 is going to beat it.
Yep.
And that's what I see a lot of people. They're really modded motors and ready to rip, and then they make silly mistakes. And I could do a whole show with you guys on, unfortunately, the average human being, and I would say probably 99% of humans, are more petrified of success than they are failure because of what you just said. They feel like there's this pressure to repeat it. And I go, no, there's no pressure to repeat it. What most pressure stems from is not knowing what you did the first time to win the championship. So now you're petrified. You don't know what to do to duplicate it. We're back to the same square one of don't think of a pink cow with black spots.
Yeah.
Right.
You haven't trained yourself, or you don't have a performance program that's educated you on how and why. So then when you do win the championship, you feel like you're starting from scratch instead of going, hey, cool. My part of my mental development program is called the Blueprint of Success. If you see a house that you like, I don't go and redesign it. I go I buy the blueprints, and then I hire a builder that follows the blueprints, and I get the house that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you tell me that you want to be a weekend warrior that's able to go faster and be more resistant to injuries, then you've got to follow a program. You got to know what's causing your injuries. Usually it's going to be mental fatigue, low blood sugar, not enough sleep. And you notice I didn't include any sweat equity, food, sleep, and water.
Yeah.
That's what I want that to be. Hope, a thread of hope for the weekend warrior. Yay. I don't need to go, try to find an extra 10 hours a week. It's like, man, it's right at your fingertips.
Yeah.
And then if you can get 10 hours, that's gravy,
Right. Right.
Yeah. No, and I know that we have a lot of listeners that could definitely benefit from everything you've said on the show. I'm sure there's some pens and pads out. We have a couple of the writers that have actually been in studio, have talked about, a lot of stuff like this. So it's really cool to be able to have you on. And Coach Robb, I mean, you're always full of
knowledge,
a ton of information.
If
and
you
knowledge.
guys enjoyed what you just heard, go over and at least be a member. Join the Moto E membership. Yeah. Because he does these webinars.
Well, I appreciate it.
He does. I think you got 45, right? 45 webinars on there. And they're just.
Yes, sir. This week, I think we were at 45. Yes, sir. So we've got 45 that are in the library right now. And then we do we do 2 webinars live per month.
Yeah.
And it's full of knowledge like this. So go over there. Just the webinars alone is worth the monthly membership, I promise.
And you don't even have to be an athlete, correct? You can use this if you're just wanting to have a better, healthier lifestyle.
pretty much.
You're exactly right. When you go into the membership area, we designed it recognizing that everybody's at a different place.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, if you want to go top to bottom, bottom to top, what we do as a company is we look at how much time can you ride during the week. If you can ride, 3, 4, 5 times, that's awesome. We have, the what we call the full-time program. If you can ride on the weekends, we call it the Weekend Warrior program. If you are at a point where maybe you just don't even have a bike anymore, we have just a fitness division, and it's just that. Now, what I like about it is there's still the psychological element of being fit. So we have a mental, vertical inside the membership area. If you're a weekend warrior and you're trying to figure out how to drop some body fat, there's nutrition about how to drop body fat, build muscle. But think about this. Whether you can't ride or whether you're riding 5 days a week, you still have the same goal, drop body fat, build muscle. So what we do is we adjust what we do on a weekly basis around the fact that, hey, most of us have families and jobs, and unfortunately we're not getting paid to go racing. So we have to keep it real.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But I really appreciate the kind words, and I really do appreciate, the listeners. If you guys want to send me the questions, I'll be more than happy. If maybe they haven't listened, or, if they're not on live with us, I want to make sure everybody that sent you a question, I want to make sure I get back to them. So whether it's a screenshot or whatever, I absolutely promise you I'll get back to them by close of business on Friday.
Yeah. There are obviously some questions that we weren't able to get to on the show, but we'll send them your way, and that way you can reach out to those people if they have questions that need answered. And Coach Robb, again, thank you for being on the show, and thank you for always supporting the show. We always appreciate the fact that you listen to the show and always comment when we have a new show up. So we that's pretty awesome. We appreciate that.
No, absolutely. You guys are doing a great job. I was telling my wife, I love, the angle that you guys take with the off-roads, the quads, and bringing those guys on and giving them a voice. And that's awesome. Keep up the good work. And thank you so much for having me on. And again, thanks to all the listeners that put the questions in. You'll hear from me soon. Thanks so much, guys.
Absolutely. We'll have you on in the near future, and I'm sure there will be more questions the next time as well.
Sounds good. Thanks again. You guys be safe. Have a good evening.
All right, you too. We'll talk to you later.
Take care.
All right, bye.
Man, that was a lot of information.
I mean, it always is. And the last time that we had Coach Robb on, that was one of those podcasts that I went back and listened to multiple times to really kind of absorb the information that he has. He's full of all kinds of information. And if you hear him saying something more than one time, you better listen, because it's very important.
Right. And, we all want to get better. If you have a dirt bike and you race, or a quad and you race, any athlete or any competitor, you always want to get better. So listen to this, go back and listen to it. Not even live, just, whatever. And just put down a pen and paper and pick out what you think is good, and it's really, like I said, there's a lot of good information in there.
There's a lot of good information, and it's very beneficial to, like, Brandon, you're in a point in your life where you're running a full racing series, you're working a full-time job, you're coaching a C-ball team, and I'm in a situation where I'm not really racing anymore, but I'm still trying to be active enough and be fit enough to where if I wanted to race, I could.
Right.
So, it's cool because it's able to help people in every situation that they're in, and be able to just help you have a healthier lifestyle. I've not gotten on his program to date, but my wife and I were talking, and I'm wanting to get back into being fit, because it's been a minute, and I've been putting it off for the past year or so.
Like I said, guys, now listen, when you're doing this, if you want to follow him, it's not just pull up and do a workout. Like he says, like you do assessments. The first thing you do when you go in there, you do assessments. Like, he'll have you measure your body and weigh yourself, and keep a food log maybe, and then go into the workouts, and then do weird. You think it's going to be weird stuff. Like, why am I doing this? And if you listen, you read and you listen, you'll understand. And it'll get you there.
Yeah, for
Man,
sure.
what a show!
What a show! What a show! I think this is our longest show to date.
Does this tie McGill's show?
Man, I forgot about how long McGill show. We gotta have him on again
We
soon.
gotta get McGill.
We got to have him on again. We have Jeff Harvey that's going to be coming on the show. He's actually going to be coming in studio here very soon.
Yep.
We got to pick a date one of these weeks, maybe next week or the week after, depending on when he can come in. And it'd be good. It'd be awesome if we could get McGill on when Jeff's in, because I know they're pretty close.
Be
So
scared if we had both of them in studio. I think we'd just walk out and just let them have the show, right?
I guess so. Yeah, they might force us to do that at that point. So, hey, Brandon, do your thing.
Do my thing, guys. If you've been listening this long, we really appreciate you. And
Oh, trust me, they've been listening.
And if you want to support us, guys, support these guys I'm getting ready to announce. Guts Racing. All right. Those guys are awesome. Any kind of seat you want, trick out your bike with a tricked out seat. If you walk in the garage, like when I walk in, turn the light on, I see that gut seat on the bike. Beautiful. It's like, dude, that's sick.
It is
You
sick.
know what I mean?
It is sick.
And also, guys, we all know we got to take care of our suspension and seals and everything we have on our bike. It's a lot of money. Everything's going up, right?
Yeah.
Food, gas. I mean, it's insane.
I would call Seal Savers the durability
Right.
that Coach Robb was talking about.
Durability for your bike.
Make
man.
your body durable, make your machines durable.
That's right, man. Hit them up. They're awesome. They're great. They're not they're not real pricey. They're affordable, and they're even more affordable with the split line discount code with a capital S. All right, 25% off everything on their site. Hit them up. They're awesome. Mason over there is great. Sunstar Chan and Sprockets, guys.
He's great except for on Pulp Mex Fantasy.
Yeah,
He's kicking
sucks.
our butt though.
No, you just no, I'm joking. No, Sunstar Chan and Sprockets, guys. They're awesome. Case Hardened Steel, sprockets and chains, and anything you want, they have. Any kind of scenario, hook them up. They look sick on your bike. They're awesome. They're just plain out awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So now we got XC gear. That's right, XC gear. XC gear so new, like
It's awesome.
it is.
Just
Dude,
look on the wall. It's a fresh face in the room.
dude, I'll tell you what. Like, if you want to save some arm pump, if you haven't been working out as much, maybe that'll save you some arm pump a little bit. And it'll take a lot of the big G outs out, like from a lot of the hard hits off your wrists and shoulders and all that good stuff. They also run some foot pegs, hook them up, and he does a lot of cool customized stuff over there. So
You can put them on a quad too.
you can put them on a quad, mountain bike, dirt bike. Heck, you probably have something for a side by side. Who knows? No, just go support them guys. They're awesome. And then once you get all that together, go hit up your local Mountain State Hare Scramble series. If you're in West Virginia, come out. It's great riding. It's good old what I call old school riding.
It's old school riding. It's old school.
Yeah.
If you want old school GNCC style riding, go to Mountain State Hare Scrambles. Tight technical woods. You're going to have fun. You're going to be around a lot of good people, and
It'll make you a better rider.
it'll make you a better rider.
All right.
Made me a better rider.
Man, what a show.
I don't know if it did you or not, but
It made me. Maybe good. Maybe good.
all right, guys. Brandon and I are. Brandon, you look tired.
I'm just a hair. Got to wake up for work, and
A few hours.
then we got a game. And
Coach Robb, we're not getting the sleep that we
We are
need tonight,
not.
but this show was well worth it.
it was awesome.
All right, guys, for episode 73, Guts Racing Seal Savers, Sunstar Chain and Sprockets, Mountain State Hare Scramble, XC Gear, Josh Koscheck, Coach Robb Beams, thank every one of you for being on the show and helping us with it. And Brandon, thank you.
Yep. Thank you too.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
I'm following your lead, I'm following the spirit. Don't go in the spirit, I'm busting through the ceiling. Busting through the ceiling, busting through the ceiling. Party, every time you're 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 party, every following your lead, I'm following the feeling. I'm conjuring the spirit, I'm